Be a killer from a full-time hunter. Chapter 41-60. Chapter 41 _ Walk towards the airship. You can see the candidates walking out of the jungle one after another. Yi Yi and Shiba. Take the number plate and walk towards the checkpoint. Congratulations to candidate number 66 for successfully passing the 4th test. I wish you a satisfactory result in the next test. Received a few number cards that Yi Yi handed over. The staff checked and confirmed that there were enough 6 points. Shiba behind him received the same congratulations. Obviously, this congratulation is for all the candidates who passed the 4th experiment. Yi Yi and Shiba were the first candidates to land on the warship. Leaning against the fence, I watched which candidates passed the 4th test. Hiso, Hanzo, Telugu, Bakur, Baldalo, JG, Leary, Kurapika. It seems that these are the only people who passed the 4th test. Every time a candidate boarded the warship, Shiba reported their name. From this point of view, it seems to be no different from the original. Knight's impact on Hunter World wasn't that great. After learning about the candidates who passed the 4th test, Yi Yi was about to leave. Wait, that guy, he was able to pass the 4th test, it's kind of interesting. But just as he turned around, the corner of his eyes seemed to catch something. Congratulations candidate No, successfully passed the 4th test. I wish you a satisfactory result in the next test. The wrestler named Takudo was in a state of embarrassment. However, he successfully collected 6 points and passed the 4th test. Although I don't know how he passed the 4th test, I always feel that he seems to be malicious to me. Is it an illusion? Other candidates who did not collect 6 points, or have been killed. There will be a special person in charge who will handle the funeral. Looking back, Yi Yi walked towards the hall again. Shiba didn't keep up, even after several days of training, even she felt a little tired. Now leaning on the fence of the warship, overlooking the entire Vigilant Island, feeling the sea breeze blowing through the body, the physical and mental exhaustion is slowly dispelled at this moment. After an hour, qualified candidates are transferred from the warship to the airship on the side. And was asked to come to the hall to gather. There is something to be notified. When all the candidates stood in the assembly hall, an inexplicable tense atmosphere spread. Hey, Yi Yi, I remember that you seem to know that president. Do you know why you called us here? After waiting for a long time, no one came. Hanzo seemed a little curious, so he asked Yaiki next to him. During the 4th trial, the two almost fought. But the situation is different now. Candidates who can survive until now are basically equivalent to having obtained the hunter license with half of their hands. There is no need to draw arrows like before. The other candidates, after hearing Hanzo's question, also turned their attention to Yoichi. It's the old man at most, he's bored and has nothing to do, just to pass the time. For this kind of inquiry, Yi Yiban didn't even need to guess. It's not easy to call the president an old man. The identity of this guy is not easy. Compared to other candidates. After hearing that Nitro might be bored to see them. Some difficult to accept other candidates. What Leo Lee paid attention to was different from other candidates. At this time, Kurapika, Xiaoji, and others beside him secretly guessed Yaiki's identity. Hey you said that this knight, will it be the grandson of the president or the descendant of his subordinates or something? After all, he dares to call the president an old man directly. You must know the fierce Menchi, but he would not dare to do so. Speak. Although the volume of the voice has been deliberately suppressed, in such a closed environment, Leo Lee's voice is still particularly attractive. Yi Yi didn't care about Leo Lee's guess. Even if they can successfully guess what, the impact on Yi Yi is better than nothing. And, judging from the fluctuations in the vicinity, Menchi, whom he called fierce, had already arrived at the door. Cough cough. A cough interrupted Leo Lee's guess. Nitro's figure emerged from the door, and behind him, followed by Lieber, Satz, Menchi, Bala and other examiners. Compared to the expressionless faces of the other examiners, Menchi looked a little angry. After entering the room, he kept staring at a young man who looked like a middle-aged uncle, but was actually only 18 years old. Guda tilde. Difficulty swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Leo Lee retreated silently and hid behind Kurapika. It doesn't matter whether Kurapika can block his body or not. Cut. Unhappy spit to the side, Menchi withdrew his gaze. Everyone, you've worked hard. Ignoring Menchi's actions, Nitro began to speak. The 12 candidates here are all qualified candidates who have passed the test 4 times. And among these 12 people, 8 of them are newcomers, which is really a bumper harvest for the Hunter Association. After Nitro finished speaking, he burst into laughter. Obviously, I am very satisfied with the results of this test. Leo Lee, who was hiding behind Kurapika, couldn't help but feel happy when he heard Nitro's praise. The president said that we are candidates with potential. Kurapika tried to ignore the one behind him. Don't say such things yourself, and don't forget that we are not the final qualifiers yet. Farce over. With a wave of his hand, Nitro tried to attract everyone's attention. The final test will be held in 3 days at a hotel rented by the Hunter Association. Before that, all candidates please rest well. When you're done, turn around and leave. Wait, I have a question to ask. What exactly is the content of the next test? Watching the examiners leave with Nitro, Leo Lee suddenly thought of something and asked loudly. It's just that Nitro has left and has no desire to continue explaining. Without looking back. It's a secret, just wait and see. 4 more. Chapter 42-. After the examiners left, the hall was quiet again. Even quiet a bit too much. There is one last test left and I don't know what it is. Xiaoji got together and discussed the last possible test. For this, Yi Yi was not interested. Go straight to the room allocated by the association. Instead of wasting time here, it is better to continue the practice of point. Shiba on the side, after seeing Yi Yi's actions, also chose the same way. All that was left was the noisy crowd in the hall. Hisoka looked thoughtfully at the direction Yi Yi left. The breath is a bit stronger than when we first met. That girl, I remember she didn't master the mind at the beginning, is it forced to open mind? Interesting, I really want to see the fully ripe fruit soon. Hum tilde. The joy in his heart made him laugh out loud. While listening to the few people that Baldlo speculated, they felt horrified under the sudden laughter. Why don't we talk somewhere else? Hanzo felt the murderous aura overflowing in the distance, and suggested a different location. Yi Yi didn't know the series of effects his departure brought. Lying on the bed in the room, Yaiki thought about his next move. The Hunter trial is coming to an end. He returned to the Sky Arena and got 10 wins to challenge the landlord. Or go back to the organization to pick up some new tasks to complete. For the organization, Yi Yi's sense of belonging is not strong. Although the predecessor received 3 years of training there, but this is the predecessor's experience. Yi Yi's feelings about the organization are more like an intermediary for introducing tasks. You pay, I contribute, everyone can live in peace and make money together. But his own news leaked to the gangster, which caused a gap between the two. Although Yi Yi didn't know who leaked the secret, it didn't prevent him from reducing his goodwill towards the organization. Some tangled. I thought about it, but didn't come to a conclusion. Yi Yi gave up and continued to think about it. There is still some time left, so he is not in a hurry to make a choice. With this thought in mind, Yi Yi entered the practice of The other side. Nitro and a group of examiners are located in a room. Judging from the many snacks on the table, it is estimated that it is a room such as a conference room dedicated to examiners. Several examiners look at photos of candidates on the table. Guess who will pass the final test? The most surprising thing is this guy. I didn't expect him to be able to come to the last test. It's really exciting. Menchie picked up Leo Lee's photo with chopsticks. She didn't forget what Leo Lee did at the time, and today she spoke ill of her behind her back and was bumped into by herself. Old hatred, new hatred. Menchie's sense of Leo Lee was reduced to a minimum. Well, I care more about number 44 Hisoka than this candidate. Sats reached out and pointed out Hisoka's photo. The murderous aura he exudes seems to be provoking us. If he hadn't participated in the hunter test, he might have already shot at us. Sats's words were recognized by several examiners. That's right, although it's not the first time I've mentioned him, his provocation is the main reason for me to get anxious. Speaking of Hisoka, Menchie also said that he was disturbed by him. I don't care about Hisoka, what I care more about is candidate number 66, the boy named Yi. Different from Menchie and SATs. Lieber paid more attention to Yi than Hisoka. Yi is that the candidate who was praised by the president. Menchie's expression was stunned, and his expression was a little embarrassed. I'm very ashamed to say that, as the examiner of the first test and the second test, we don't know anything about this candidate at all. Satsu's words broke Menchie's embarrassment. In the first test, he was like a poisonous snake, hiding among the ordinary candidates, without expressing anything special, so I didn't pay any special attention to him. Having said that, SAT subconsciously touched his beard. Contrary to Hisoka's provocative release of murderous aura, Yi hid his own aura to the extreme. It is hard to imagine that at this age, he possesses such an outstanding, absolute. When Menchie heard Sazi's comment on Yi, he nodded secretly beside him. That's right, during the second test, Yi used everyone to attract the attention of Buha and me, and he and another candidate were drinking tea in the corner of the venue and watching the play. Crunch. Menchie's fists clenched violently. If the president hadn't said his name, I would have subconsciously ignored his existence. Menchie felt a little ashamed that he was ignored by a candidate's, absolutely. President, since you know the information about this candidate, you might as well give us some information. Buhara ate the pudding in front of him, expressing that he was very shocked and did not want to participate in this conversation. But thinking of the interaction between Yi and Nitro, he subconsciously asked. At this point, everyone seemed to remember that there was a person in front of him who knew Yi's information. Even his appearance made several examiners discover Yi's existence in advance. Ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde. Facing the gazes of several examiners, Nitro laughed softly. Want to know about Yaiki-chan? Looking at such a naughty Nitro, although they were anxious, they also followed his thoughts. Hem. Several examiners nodded, expressing their desire to know. The old man won't tell you. It's also a pleasure to explore the unknown tilde ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde. It's a pity that the old-fashioned Nitro did not directly tell a few people about Yi. Okay, let's stop chatting here. The old man should also go to prepare for the last test. Swallowing the last pudding in front of him, Nitro got up and walked towards the door, leaving behind a group of examiners full of grief. Chapter 43_. Yi was unaware of the discussions that took place between the examiners. But even if he knew, he wouldn't care about such trivial matters. Yi was able to come to the final test unscathed, relying on his own ability, not the favor of those examiners. And the practice of walk in the direction of the restaurant. Timely replenishment of energy can make him better face emergencies. Half an hour later, a voice came from the airship's speaker. Attention all students. From now on, the candidates who have called the number, please come to the interview room one by one and accept the interview. The sudden announcement interrupted Yi's eating. The so-called interview, has it started so soon? Speed up your eating to avoid being called out to your number before you finish your food. Candidate number 44, please go to the interview room for an interview. Candidate number 53, please go to the interview room for an interview. Candidate number 66, please go to the interview room for an interview. The moment he shouted Yi Yi's number, he just finished eating. Putting down the teacup in his hand, he walked towards the so-called interview room. Yi Yi also has a general understanding of the so-called interview. It is nothing more than a personal understanding of the candidates, and then arranges an inquiry of the opponent. When Yi Yi came to the interview room, there were already many candidates waiting at the door, including Shiba. Yo tilde Yi Yi Jang, I'll wait for you for a while. Entering the interview room, Nitro was looking at the photo and thinking about something. At this moment, his whole body is in a relaxed state. It seems that there is no concern that these candidates will suddenly attack him. Or rather, with his strength, he did not take these candidates into his eyes at all. The arrival of the night interrupted his thinking. President. Posing as a greeting. Yi Yi walked to the small low table and sat down cross-legged. You are much calmer than those candidates. Before you come up, ask me if this is the final test. Seeing Yi Yi sit down, a glimmer of admiration flashed in Nitro's eyes. The flow of breath is much smoother than the first meeting. It seems that the basic practice has not stopped. Compared with CG's apprentice, he has received a good seedling. Yi Yi ignored Nitro's praise. Just stared straight at him, waiting for his inquiry. Ho tilde since Yi Yi Jang is looking forward to it so much, I won't waste my time. Taking back his mentality of facing the younger generation, Nitro began his responsibilities as the president of the Hunter Association. I want to ask you some questions, you can answer truthfully. The voice was not as peaceful as before, and a formulaic way manifested. Nodding, Yi Yi said he understood. Nitro, first of all, why do you want to take part in the hunter test and become a hunter? Night 1. Get stronger. Nitro, among these candidates, which one do you care about the most? Night 1. Number. Nitro, oh, what's the reason? Yi Yi, he has murderous intentions towards me. Nitro, the last question, out of all the candidates, which candidate do you want to play against? Night 1. Number 67. Quote. Nitro, okay, you can go out. Get up, leave, open the door, close the door. The simple interview is over. Out of the interview room, many candidates are still waiting. Candidate number 67, please go to the interview room for an interview. After the first night, it was Shiba. After a few minutes, Shiba looked surprised, and had the same reaction as most of the candidates. For the so-called interview, I did not expect to simply ask a few questions. The remaining students, entering the interview room one after another, and coming out of it one after another. Time goes by. Until all the candidates were interviewed, Nitro was still thinking about something in the interview room. Compared with before the association, the situation where a qualified person appeared only a few years ago is different. There are so many newcomers this year that it is difficult for him to choose. Although the association has a talent explosion period every 10 years. But every year is different. Like this year, more than a dozen candidates came to the final test situation. Even in the Hunters Association's many years of history, the number is rare. In order to cope with the special situation this year, Nitro needs to plan well. A few days later. The sky is bright. The airship is about to arrive at the site for the final test. It was also at this time that the final test list set up by Nitro was seen by several other examiners. Unbelievable expressions all leaked out. Candidates, we will soon be able to arrive at the examination venue for the final test. The appearance of a high-end restaurant can be vaguely seen. At this time, almost all the candidates were full of excitement. Airship landing. Everyone followed the direction pointed by the staff and came to a spacious hall. Nitro will announce the content of the final test for everyone. All the candidates, the mood at this moment, but relaxed again. After guessing for days, the final test is finally here. Looking at the candidates in front of him, Nitro did not waste time. directly announce the content of the final test. The final test is a one-on-one knockout. Nitro's words caused great harm to several of the candidates. The cheat sheet made in advance is completely meaningless at this moment. These candidates looked at another candidate involuntarily. I complimented him inwardly. Ignore the farce. Nitro pulled back the curtain next to him. Leaked out a writing board with the number plate of the crowd. Looking at this digital version, the mood of the candidates fell to the bottom in an instant. They did not expect that they had to face such a cruel test when they came to the last test with difficulty. Only Yi, looking at the writing board in the distance, remained silent. Chapter 44 Looking at the curtain opened by Nitro, most of the candidates could not accept it. Numbers marked with 12 candidates. It looks like only a final victory can pass this test. This is also the reason why it is difficult for those students to accept. Just. Ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde. Looking at the shocked expressions on the faces of the candidates, Nitro expressed his satisfaction. Make no mistake about it. The qualifying conditions for the final test are as long as one can win. The winner stands out, and the loser goes to the next round of battle. That is to say, there is only one person who failed this test. Nitro's remarks finally made the hearts of those candidates calm down. If only one person is not qualified, most of the people present have the qualifications to become hunters. Compared with the previous wrong idea, happiness should not come too suddenly. Hey, President, wouldn't it be unreasonable to just arrange it like this? I have heard the battle sequence announced by the bean noodles. Someone has already found something wrong. The higher the number of battles, the more times the player can fight. And the players who are in the back of the battle, some people can only fight twice. Compared with the former, the probability of the latter becoming a hunter is undoubtedly greatly reduced. For this question, Leo Lee subconsciously asked. He is the so-called player at the back of the battle. Naturally concerned about his chances of becoming a hunter. In the face of Leo Lee's inquiry, Nitro was already prepared. Under the theory of some experimental performance, Leo Lee's doubts were successfully dispelled. Of course, it can only dispel Leo Lee's doubts. The descendants of the Haka who beat the enemy Haka are undoubtedly the strongest in their generation. I don't think my performance in the game will be much behind others. But his battles can only be ranked in the middle level. Just like the original, he raised a question to Nitro. Nitro also explained it. But Nitro's remarks made him fall into silence. Well, since everyone has no doubts, let's start the experiment. The rules of the game are that two people can use any tool in the test, but they cannot hurt the other's life. If this happens, it means that all other candidates are qualified. After introducing the rules, no one expressed any doubts. The final test of the Hunter trial has officially begun. First match, number 44 Hisoka versus number 404 Kurapika. The referee named Lewis called the two to the center of the venue. Do the final test. Yi was not interested in this match. Facing Kurapika who didn't master his mind, Hisoka wouldn't use his full strength. As a qualified fruit farmer, he will never pick unripe fruit early. This time the game lost the function of collecting information. 10 minutes later. The battle is over. After informing Kurapika's spider about the information, Hisoka chose to voluntarily admit defeat. Game, go to the next. In the second round, Hanzo of number 294 will face Xiaoji of number 405. Quote. The new referee, Master, announces the start of the game. As soon as the match was announced, Hanzo attacked young Jia. Xiaoji tried to resist, but to no avail. He was even caught by Hanzo because of this. A break starts here. Leo Lee, who was watching, could no longer watch. Che, such a kid, just admit defeat. Takuto number 255, looking at this picture, expressed his opinion with a look of disdain. You bastard, what did you just say? If it wasn't for little Jetto who took a grape spider egg, do you think you could pass the second test? Leo Lee's anger completely ignited. He rushed forward, grabbed Takuto's collar, and shouted angrily. Takuto, who was caught by the collar, subconsciously wanted to break free. But Leo Lee, who was in a state of rage, burst out with a huge force that he couldn't believe. Takuto couldn't break free at all. The previous referee, Lewis, suddenly appeared between the two. The two were separated and a warning was given. Candidate number 255, if you are provoking other candidates, I, as the referee selected by the Hunter Arbitration Committee, have the right to rule you out of the competition. Although Leo Lee took the first shot, Lewis still judged that Takuto was provocative. Cut. The conflict between the two ends. But the game on the field is not over. Sight and hearing, with two casual attacks, easily took away Xiaoji's senses. Xiaoji did not give up. Cut tilde. With a crunch. An arm was cut off abruptly. Until now, most of the candidates have been unable to continue watching. But Xiaoji still didn't give up. With such persistence, Hanzo's thinking has also changed. Stop the last attack. Choose to admit defeat. I surrender. Those candidates who are still cheering for Xiaoji, and Xiaoji himself, all fell into silence at the moment. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. How can it be? Faced with this result, Xiaoji seemed to recall that night on Bayer Island again. Obviously won the victory, but not reconciled. As the winner, Xiaoji successfully passed the Hunter test. It's just such a victory, but it's not the result he wants. The next few games were even more boring. Game 3, Hisoka vs. Baldlo. In the face of the powerful Hisoka, Baldlo couldn't injure him at all. Finally choose to admit defeat. Scene 4, Hanzo faces Shiba. Shiba just released his evil thoughts, and Hanzo chose to admit defeat. To be able to have such strength at the age of 18. His knowledge is not comparable to that of ordinary people. When he realized that he could not win, he simply chose to admit defeat. Game 5, Baldlo vs. Leo Lee. Because he didn't want to take advantage of others' danger, Leo Lee applied for the game to be postponed. Nitro permission, game delayed. Game 6, Hanzo faced Bakur, who lost to Bakur and was subdued by one move. In the face of Hanzo's threat, Bakur reluctantly conceded defeat. The 7th test, a duel on the night of the 66th no. Set Telugu. After waiting for a long time, it finally came to the duel of the night. 3 shifts. Chapter 45_. The referee stepped forward to the center of the field. The 7th game, a duel on the night of the 66th no. Set Telugu. The two stepped forward to the center of the arena, looking at each other. Although I know that Readaloud is an ill fan. But it was the first time that such a close encounter had been made. The two are both killers, and they subconsciously resist the approach of strangers. Similar characters make them not take the initiative to ask. Therefore, the two people's understanding of both sides is close to zero. No, I don't know anything compared to Ilmi. Yi knew some basic information about him. Ill fan. Those who operate kinesthetic abilities are good at using nails as weapons. The number of shots is not too many, but the performance every time is not simple. Its strength is estimated to be at least the level of the combat members in the Phantom Brigade. At this time, he was only 24 years old. Still in a period of rapid growth. The strength is stronger than Yi. Yi, is it? The competition has not yet started, and it seems that a period of communication is specially reserved for the candidates. Facing the upcoming battle, Ilmi was the first to speak. I'm not interested in this kind of meaningless battle. Even if you are defeated, it is estimated that you will not admit defeat so easily. The voice was crisp but emotionless. Then, since the current situation has been formed, it is better to do it according to my method, so that it is a win-win situation for you and me. This familiar voice made Ji-fen, who was watching the battle, recover. As long as you give me 20 million rennies, I will choose to admit defeat, and you will win. This method of mine is very cost-effective for you. Really. If you can easily pass the final test with only money, it is great news for those candidates who want to become hunters. Hey, that guy over there actually started trading in front of us. Hey, what are we professional hunters doing? Before Yi could answer, the hot-tempered Menchi could no longer bear the attitude of Yi or me. Menchi, the final test has already begun. As the examiner of the second test, you have no right to interfere. Nitro spoke suddenly, and compared to his usual playful tone, he seemed extra serious at the moment. Compared with the mere 20 million ringtones, what he wanted to know more was Yi's choice. Menchi, subconsciously converged. Facing Yirmi's transaction, the corner of Yi's mouth rose slightly. Ha ha. What followed was wild laughter full of joy. All the candidates couldn't understand Yi's wild laughter at the moment. To them, Yi was more mysterious than Hisoka. At least everyone knows that Hisoka is a man who moves with his mood. On the night of the night, it usually looks cold and calm. But now, he is laughing like a demon. After a while, the laughter gradually subsided. Yi looked at the man standing opposite him. How can I easily let go of an opponent of your level? I have waited for a long time. What 20 million renni to admit defeat is just an excuse. The real purpose is just to deepen the strangeness. Even if he doesn't give him 20 million yuan, Ilmi will choose to give up. This final test can be regarded as the most perfect stage. In front of his so-called best friend, Xiaoji, he deepened his ignorance of strangeness with his own hands and completely killed the light that still remained in his heart. Let Qiangu Shimu Xingshang embrace the darkness, and blend into the darkness. This is his love for his younger brother as a big brother. But 20 million yuan, I will transfer it to you later. Yi's voice returned to cold, as if he had regained his previous sanity. This made a candidate who was waiting to watch a good show feel a sense of disappointment. Even those examiners couldn't understand Yi's words. Obviously based on his strength, even if he concedes defeat in this test, he can easily win in the future. Disappointed eyes looked towards Yi. Che, it really is a guy who came to the final test by going through the back door. It's really boring that even such a guy can participate in the hunter test. At this moment, Takugo suddenly remembered the second experiment, the scene of Yaiki being called away by Nitro. The envy hidden in the heart, or jealousy erupted at this moment. It's just that he didn't know that Yi was able to come to the final test unscathed, not because of the mercy of others. An evil thought full of murderous intent emanated from Yi's body. The goal is Toto. The moment of feeling the killing intent. Takugo forgot to breathe, that he was still alive. Bloody murderous aura, dark and terrifying evil thoughts haunted his soul. Just when he was about to faint, Yi took the initiative to withdraw his killing intent. At the moment when the killing intent stopped, Tuodu fell to the ground, breathing in the fresh air. But even so, his face was still pale. As an ordinary person, to feel the killing intent at such a close distance, it is impossible to die or be disabled. However, the examiners and referees in the distance deliberately ignored this scene. No matter right or wrong, as an ordinary person, but to provoke a person with the ability to read, you must be prepared to bear the consequences. Of course, these 20 million rennies cannot be taken casually. Ilmi's expression remained the same, quietly waiting for the following. After performing tasks for many years, he has naturally come into contact with all kinds of clients, and has also taken on many tasks with strange requirements. In this regard, he has enough experience. 20 million renni, I entrust you to fight with me. At this moment, Yi seemed to be fearless. Interesting, entrust me to take it, but please make the remittance in time. For Ilmi, there is no conflict between entrustment and Kashan. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi's mouth again. That's a real joy. The icy voice seemed to be a bit higher than before because of joy. Chapter 46_. Faced with the sudden change in the rhythm on the court, most people can't understand it. Obviously, 20 million yuan can make the opponent give up the game, but he has to use 20 million yuan to let the opponent compete with himself. This incomprehensible operation confuses all candidates and examiners. Among the so many people present, only 3 people could see Yi Yi's true purpose. Interesting, really interesting, seeing Xiao Yi's idea of not wanting to fight, using the commission to force a confrontation with himself, is it to gain experience? Or to collect data, or to test your own strength? Look at the 2 on the field. Hisoka, who was leaning against the corner, couldn't help but surging. He was the one who knew the most about Yi Yi's behavior. Entrusting Ilmi to a duel with herself is a rare and good way to pass the time. Naturally, Hisoka did not miss out on commissions. It's just that he doesn't know what the purpose of Yi Yi's entrustment to Ilmi is at this moment. What Hisoka can think of, Nitro can naturally also guess. Even he guessed more accurately than Hisoka. The mastery of mind has entered a new stage, and it needs an opponent with the same strength, or only slightly stronger than himself to test. The appearance of the Hakka kid who beat the enemy just met his needs. At the same time, in order to avoid the Hakka kid who beat the enemy deliberately admit defeat, he issued a commission to duel with himself. Ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde, it's really a poisonous snake. In order to achieve his goal, make the best use of everything around you. Touching his beard, Nitro completely guessed Yi Yi's thoughts. Compared with the previous 2 guesses, Shiba was slightly greener. Probably to ensure that this opponent, whose strength is comparable to his own, cannot easily surrender. Seeing Yi Yi's icy expression, Shiba subconsciously expressed his guess. The other candidates on the side seemed to understand something when they heard this idea. That's right, we just subconsciously thought he was stronger than Yi Yi because of what Readaloud said earlier, but we don't know what Yi Yi's real strength is. Kurapika's reaction was the quickest, and in just a moment, he found out that everyone's thinking was busy. Maybe this Yi Yi's strength is stronger than that of Readaloud, and the commission of 20 million monks is just satire. After listening to Leo Li, he also expressed his guess. No, that's not right. It should be Yi Yi who felt that Jitaragu's strength was almost the same as his own, so he made such a commission. At this moment, Qi Yan's brain is already a little confused. But that didn't stop him from speaking his mind. What happened to these 2 people on the field gave me exactly the same feeling as my eldest brother. Damn, can't tell. A strange man without mastery of mind can only judge others based on their temperament. The other side. The rules remain the same. You and I lose the ability to fight, and you can choose whether to lose or not. Yi Yi talked about the rules of the duel between the 2. Fans have no objection. For him, although Yi Yi's thoughts were excellent, there was still a distance from him. The game begins. The referee was relieved when the 2 sides stopped talking. Quickly stepped forward to announce the start of the game. The voice falls. A few syllables pierced the air and quickly shot towards Yi Yi. Ding tilde ding tilde ding tilde. The short knife hidden on the body was pulled out, and the attack was easily blocked. Simple temptation is unnecessary. It means nothing to you and me. Putting down the short knife in front of him, Yi Yi's expression was still cold. Interesting, let's try this. Watching his attack be easily blocked. Ilmi had the slightest interest in it. Yi Yi didn't respond, but his expression became more focused. Next moment. The 2 figures disappeared from everyone's eyes. Seeing this familiar scene, Xiaoji couldn't help but look at Qi Yan beside him. During a volleyball game, he had seen Qi Shi trade Jesus Pao Wei Xiao. Limb flex. Why can both of them use extremity flex? Compared to Xiaoji's curiosity, Qi Ju felt unacceptable. The superior dynamic vision allowed him to see something vaguely before the 2 disappeared. Although the limb bend has been used by Nitro as the basic trick of the assassin. But this trick is a family secret technique for beating the enemy. It was the first time he had seen outsiders use their own limbs. No, that's not right. Although Yi Yi's way of disappearing is very similar to limb bending, it is a technique of using special steps to form an afterimage, attracting the attention of the enemy, and instantly hiding the figure. However, upon closer inspection, there are slight differences. Compared with Yi Yi's technique, limb bending is a technique that uses darkness and the illusion of the enemy to instantly hide the figure. It can be said that the two are very similar, but there are some differences. However, both of them are now hidden and cannot attack each other at all. Unless _____. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the silent venue. Everyone subconsciously cast their eyes. I saw Bala rubbing his stomach with a hungry look on his face. I'm hungry. At the same time, a violent collision sounded. Everyone immediately turned their eyes to the direction from which the voice came. I saw the two people who had just disappeared out of thin air, and appeared out of thin air not far away. Every shot of the two is accompanied by superb killing skills. They are fighting each other at the moment. The two disappeared out of thin air before, but it was just an illusion caused by special skills and special circumstances. A killer who is skilled in this skill can naturally detect the location of the opponent who uses this ability. From the very beginning, the two knew where the other was. It just wasn't the right time to do it. Bahara broke this situation, allowing the two to choose to attack at the same time. Seizing the moment and launching a fatal blow to the prey is the instinct of the killer. It can only be said that the skills of the two are almost the same, and so is the choice of timing. Chapter 47 The sound of attack and defense echoed in the hall. A group of candidates looked at the two who attacked and defended each other at an extremely fast speed, and cold sweat was secretly shed. Hey, Hanzo, can you do this? Looking at the two people who continued to alternate figures and continued to attack. Strange dishes on the beach angle slugs. Of 12, there is still a gap in the strength of Chi-Shi Union and Hanzo. No, my speed has not reached this level for the time being. Hanzo's voice was a little low, obviously he was also struck by the battle screen in front of him. Next to several people. It was Hisoka who was stimulated by the battle between the two. The thoughts in his body surged up involuntarily. Obviously, the battle between the two was particularly exciting for Hisoka. The other side. The duel between the two is still going on. Ilmi's body dodged lightly, then dodged a knife from the knight. At the same time, the counterattack is also hidden in the shadows. Ilmi's hands stretched out sharp claws at some point. Emerged from the shadow of Yuichi's arm and stabbed upwards. The sharp right claw, like a spear, stabbed Yuichi's body sharply. Ding! A sound like steel colliding came from it. Facing Ilmi's attack. Flow, to defend in advance. Attack on one side. With a side kick, he kicked in the direction of Ilmi. He wanted to leave, but found that his right hand was tightly pinched by Yuichi's muscles. In a hurry. Ilmi had no choice but to block her left arm in front of her, her thoughts condensed. Pung tilde. The side kick slammed into the defensive left arm. At the same time. After completing the defense, Ilmi squatted down subconsciously, and swept the foot of Yuichi who was standing on one foot because of the side kick. Face this change. Yuichi controlled the muscles to release the clamped right hand. Jump backwards with one foot, dodging the sweeping leg. The battle between the two didn't have any fancy moves, some were just the whole body turned into a weapon for killing people. Reaching the current state of the two, every part of the body can be turned into an offensive weapon. Take advantage of every available opportunity to smash the enemy with a stormy attack. It's just that this time they both met their opponents. In the battle between the two, the applied skills of the mind are used frequently. Cho will be wrapped around weapons to attack each other. Hidden hides his thoughts so that the other party can't detect them. The two of Yuan only kept it within a range of 2 meters, so as to know the opponent's reaction as soon as possible. Ken uses more thoughts to strengthen his attack power. When Flo is about to be attacked, dispatch more thoughts to defend. The examiners watching on the side couldn't help but ponder. Not everyone can do such a smooth use of skills in battle. A brief separation. I'm very curious. Although your skills are skilled, you still have some gaps compared to mine. How on earth did you draw a tie with me? After moving his neck, Ilmi asked Yi Yi. In terms of speed, he was a little faster than Yi Yi. In terms of power, it is also slightly stronger than Yi Yi. Even the skills are a bit more skilled than Yi Yi. Yi Yi had such strength at such an age, which really surprised him. But he, Ilmi beat the enemy, is also a genius, and he thinks he has good strength after years of training. But the battle between the two, on the premise of not hurting the other's life, was evenly divided. He was particularly curious about this. Facing the curiosity of Ilmi, Yi Yi came out with the reason. The moment you enter the venue, I observe the frequency of your walking, breathing, and breathing. Analyze this and simulate countless possible battle scenes in your mind. Thousands of drills have allowed me to successfully speculate on your attacking style. That's all. The cold and crisp voice stunned everyone. Even those examiners were surprised when they heard this ability for the first time. Ignore others. In the battle with Ilmi, Yaiki didn't plan to use the power of inheritance. He wanted to see how far he could achieve with the thoughts he cultivated himself. How big is the gap between yourself and the geniuses in this world? Although I've heard of this ability, it's the first time I've met it. It's really annoying. Listening to Yi Yi's explanation, Ilmi's expression changed slightly. It is also the first time he has encountered this ability. Your commission doesn't match the commission fee at all, and I regret taking your commission. Although saying so. But Ilmi began to remove the narration nails from her head one by one. The next moment, a magical face change appeared in front of everyone. Compared with the face that was originally fabricated at random, an extremely handsome face appeared in everyone's sight. As expected, it's easier this way. After moving his body at will, Ilmi returned to her original posture. When Chi Yan in the distance saw this face, he instantly became sluggish. Big brother. Although he had already guessed when the two were fighting, when that face appeared in front of him, it was still a little hard to accept. In the fourth test, because of Yi Yi's temperament, he called himself a similar name. Chiguo Yi mistook him for his eldest brother. But the battle between the two changed his mind a little bit. First, the familiar voice, then the family's limbs, and then the bone-changing technology. It made him understand that this man called Jitaraku seemed to be his eldest brother. Kyu, you seem to have never noticed me. Although there are some deviations from the plan, it has no major impact. We'll talk about it later, let me complete this order first. The voice fell, and a strong killing intent spewed out. Ilmi once again attacked Yi Yi. It's just that compared to the previous state, the current fans seem to be more aggressive. Shaking hands. He slipped out 5 syllables and flew towards Yi Yi. The same narration nail, but the power is completely different. The short knives used to block only blocked 4, and they shattered. The 5th narration nail, shot at Yaiki unhindered. Crucial moment. Yi Yi's body swerved to the left, and missed the blow by the slightest. No, not completely dodged. A trace of blood flowed from Yi Yi's face. 3 shifts. Ask for flowers, ask for collections. Chapter 48_. A trace of blood flowed from his face, but Yi Yi didn't have time to wipe it. The sharp claws attacked Yi Yi fiercely. Under this claw, the air seems to be cut open. However, this attack was easily dodged by Yi Yi by crouching down. At the same time, before Ilmi Zuadu launched an attack, Yi Yi jumped up in advance. With the right hands together, the thoughts quickly condensed. A hand knife slashed diagonally away. Its target, Ilmi's neck. Under the power of this knife, if the attack is successful, even Ilmi will die. PFF'd. At the moment about to cut up a piece of clothing in place of Ilmi. It split in two instantly. The battle between the two, although it is said to be in accordance with the rules of the final test, cannot endanger the life of the other party. But after fighting to this extent, both of them seem to have forgotten this rule. Ilmi's figure suddenly emerged from behind Yi. The hands swayed in a strange way. Next moment. Snake live. The speed of the swing of the hands suddenly increased. It looks like a number of snakes that are constantly wriggling. Quickly headed towards Yi who had his back turned to attack him. Ilmi's snake life is more secretive and threatening. With the perception of Yuan, Yi discovered his attack immediately. With the current posture, if you want to leave, you can only rely on Shunpo. But not at night. He did not forget the purpose of this battle, not for life and death. It's just to test the progress of my reading and test the gap between myself and these geniuses. Turn quickly. With his arms in front of him, 80% of his thoughts converge here. Use flow and firmness at the same time. Barely withstood the attack. Right now. Ilmi's feet suddenly staggered. However, the continuous battle had already shattered the hall floor. He just stepped on a crack. At this foot, it completely collapsed. There was a flaw in the continuous attack. Good opportunity. His eyes flickered. The arms slammed violently, shaking Ilmi's hands that were constantly attacking. The body turned slightly to the left. The right leg begins to exert force, and the force is first transmitted to the waist, then poured into the right leg, and concentrated on the right calf and foot. The whole body is concentrated in it. Even without contact. Ilmi had already felt an exaggerated thought force beside him. Another side kick, kicked towards Ilmi's waist. If this kick is solid, this battle seems to be over. Look at the kick that kicked at him. Ilmi knew that she could no longer escape. Nian is also unable to move to the waist in time because it is concentrated in both hands when performing snake work. At this moment, he can only adjust his posture to minimize the injured area. Does not affect the next hunter test. Yi also reacted, his attack seemed to condense too much thought, and it was simply not something that Ilmi at the moment could stop. But this side kick has already been kicked out, and if it is forced back, I am afraid that I will be re-injured. In times of danger. This test will end here. An old voice sounded beside the two of them. Ilmi was caught by the owner of the voice and threw it into the distance. He stood with one arm in front of him, blocking Yiki's attack. It's just that Yi's side kick condensed the thoughts of his whole body. Even the owner of the old voice was kicked several meters away by this kick. C tilde C tilde C tilde C tilde tilde. The friction between the clogs and the ground made a harsh sound. No one cares about that at the moment. President Nitro. A referee quickly came to Nitro's side, concerned about his situation. At the critical moment, it was Nitro who came forward to stop Yiki's attack. It doesn't matter, this injury can't hurt me for the time being. Pushing aside the referee beside him, Nitro walked towards the center of the field unscathed. In the battle just now, because player Yoichi used a potentially lethal attack, I decided that he would automatically admit defeat in this duel and move on to the next battle. Yi, who was exhausted, pulled up with one hand. Nitro announced the deal with Yi. Contestant Yi, do you have any objection? Yi's body subconsciously entered the absolute, in order to restore the body's exhausted mind. But his consciousness was still very clear. No objection. Although his voice was weak, he agreed with Nitro's handling. Before the duel between the two, he had already agreed to duel according to the rules of the final test. That is to say, this battle cannot be deadly. But the attack just now was regarded as breaking the rules that he had set. Sentenced to admit defeat in this game, he was convinced. Wait, I have an objection. However, an unexpected voice sounded. Nitro looked at him. Ilmi's figure did not know when to come back to the two of them. My entrustment with him is that after one side loses combat effectiveness, I can choose to admit defeat. Now Yi Yi has lost his ability to fight, my commission has been completed, and I will admit defeat in this game. Compared to Yaiki, who used up his thoughts. Ilmi was thrown away by Nitro first and didn't take any damage. Koji Talaku, are you sure you're admitting defeat in this match? In the face of Nitro's inquiry, Ilmi confirms again. For him, it was just a mission, and he didn't give up the idea of the original plan. In the 7th game, Jitaraku players concede defeat. Under the judgment of the referee. That's the end of this duel. With Shiba's active support, Yi Yi returned to his room to recover. Night falls. After 7 duels, the time came to night. The rest of the tests will continue the next day. Candidates can also leave the venue and go to the room arranged by the association to rest. However, unexpectedly, except for Zisuo, Yearmi, Yi Yi, and Shiba, the 4 candidates left. The other candidates are still in the hall. He seems to be reminiscing about the battle between Yaiki and Ilmi. The two people's neat and tidy methods, the mysterious and ghostly pace, and the speed that is beyond ordinary people. Let these students a little difficult to accept. Have we been through the first few quizzes with monsters like this all the time? Quite a while. Leo Lee's trembling voice echoed in the venue. Unfortunately, no one told him the answer. 4 more. Chapter 49_. Yi Yi didn't know that he left such a deep impression on Leo Lee and the others. Almost time to recover. He walked towards the restaurant. I hadn't eaten for a day, and I regained my exhausted thoughts. His hunger was a little hard to suppress. Come to the venue restaurant. There are already quite a few staff enjoying dinner. But the most eye-catching is the figure of Bala. Beside him are a group of test examiners. This scene happened many times in the original work, and Yi Yi was not surprised. Just try to ignore it and go in the opposite direction. Restaurant in buffet style. Location doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the moment he stepped into the restaurant, someone noticed his presence. Hey Yaiki-chan here. Nitro's voice came from behind. Although I don't know what I have to do with myself, an unpleasant feeling emerges in my heart. Yi Yi consciously accelerated his walking pace, pretending that he hadn't heard Nitro's call. Pung tilde. Next moment. A figure suddenly appeared beside Yi Yi. At the same time, a hand was placed on his shoulder. Let Yi Yi not be able to leave half a step. Yaiki-chan go, sit down and eat with us. A huge force forcefully pulled Yi Yi. Helpless, Yi Yi could only watch helplessly as he was pulled by Nitro to sit beside him. It just so happened that you passed the final test today, and you have become a hunter, you just haven't been licensed yet. Yi Yi sat next to him. Nitro just started to talk about his purpose. You can be considered colleagues in the future, so you can get to know each other here. Saying that, he pointed to the group of examiners sitting opposite the two of them. Sitting opposite the two, from left to right, are SATs, Menchi, Bala and Libo. Although they know each other. But during the hunter test, the examiners in front of them had already introduced their information roughly. Thus, the purpose of Nitro. More, let Yi Yi introduce himself in front of several examiners. Yi Yi didn't know that before he stepped into the restaurant, several people were chatting about his duel today. Today, Yi Yi is only 15 years old. But the strength shown is already much stronger than those of the examiners present. This made them even more curious about Yi Yi's identity. In the first few dinners, it was not without inquiring about the information of the night. But Nitro always used the excuse of collecting it himself and never disclosed it. Now it is rare for a deity to appear in front of everyone at night, and Nitro also said to let him introduce himself. The curiosity of several people instantly soared to the extreme. Woe tilde. Helpless, Yi Yi put on a pose that everyone was very familiar with. Spiritual disciple, Yi Yi, give me more advice. After the introduction, I sat down again at night. He took the new tableware handed over by the staff and started eating. The hunger in the belly has long since rushed up like seawater. Only a group of examiners who were full of expectations were left, and gradually fell into petrification. Ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde ho tilde. Nitro seemed to want this effect, and laughed happily on the side. Cut, dead old man. Yi, who was eating on the side, didn't know that he was called by Nitro to tease the examiner in front of him. Can be beaten and beaten, but in name he is still his grandfather. There was nothing he could do at night. The only thing you can do is try to ignore him. Focus your attention on the food in front of you. President, it's too boring to dismiss us with just such a sentence. Menchie pursed her cheeks, with a bun face full of displeasure. But compared to Yi, the fierce candidate in front of her, she didn't dare to be too rude. Can only complain to Nitro. Sats and the others also looked at Nitro with speechless eyes. For Yi's short introduction, Nitro was naturally to blame. In the face of these sorrows, Nitro was still smiling. Just then, the bean noodles man came running from the side. There seems to be something to notify Nitro. Helplessly looked at the food in front of him and only ate half of the food. Nitro took a group of examiners and walked in the direction of the conference room. Only Yi was left to eat alone. Although it was said that he was the only one left, Yi felt much more relaxed. Except for Nitro, none of the people just now could pose a threat to Yi. But his own vigilance made him not used to too much contact with strangers. Simple dinner. Go back to your room to rest at night. The long night is spent here. The next day. The sky is bright. Yi has already carried out a simple exercise. Although the current strength seems to be stronger than most people, but for the real strong, he is still far behind. 1678, 1679, 1680, 4997, 4998, 4999, 5000. Quote. 5001 finger push-ups are over. Yi started the next training session. 3487, 3488, 3489, 4997, 4998, 4999, 5000. Quote. 5000 crunches over. ... After eating lunch brought by the staff, Yi began to practice, again. During this period, Shiba came once, as if he wanted to ask more about Nian. I just felt the breath of Yi's cultivation, so I didn't come to disturb him. End the day of practice. Yi learned that the hunter trial had ended. The results were not very different from what he knew. It's just that the one killed by Chi Peptone this time was not the martial Taoist Baldolo. Instead, it was a wrestler named Takudo. Yi was not familiar with this man who inexplicably hated him. There was no response to his death. It can be said that although the deceased has changed, it has no effect on Yi. The following few days, the bean noodles man gave a lecture, introducing various information. Yeben thinks he can leave after the lecture is over. But just before he left, Nitro's summons changed his next itinerary. Chapter 50_. After listening to the bean noodles man's lecture, all qualified hunters are ready to return to their previous lives or start a new adventure. Night is no exception. Regarding the issue of his own information leakage, although it is only the information before he became a psychic. However, it is a problem that must be solved. Now he feels that as long as he is a little powerful guy, he can get information about his past. It's not a big problem, but the nausea is very strong. Yi, are you ready? Fold the clothes on the bed and just put them in the bag. At night, I heard Shiba's voice coming from the door. Okay. With a simple answer, he picked up the bag and walked out. During the fourth experiment, the two already knew that each other had their own things to do. Neither side has the idea of continuing to form a squad. Just exchanged phone numbers with each other. When in trouble, we can help each other. Perhaps for many people, such things are not understandable. But for Yi Yi, he and Shiba were only attracted by the other's similar temperament and passed to him. Just like-minded friends. There is no reason to live together. The airship transportation center in this city is quite far from here. It takes about half an hour to walk there. Walking out of his room, what he saw was Shiba dressed in casual clothes. Compared with the icy temperament before, it has a slightly more casual feeling. It's okay. It's a pity that Yi pair was not interested in what Shiba was wearing. When we got to the airship transportation center, we were completely separated, and it was a bit reluctant to think about it. Shiba was not surprised by Yi Yi's ignorance. It is even said that if you see yourself changing clothes, Yiki's face will change, and this is the wrong place. After separation, there will be no one to guide the practice of mindfulness. The two left the venue and walked towards the airship crew center. Just wait, Mr. Yoichi, please wait. The shouts from behind stopped the two of them subconsciously. President Nitro has something for you, please come with me. Look at the man in the Hunters Guild uniform. The two looked at each other. I'm really unlucky, looks like I have to go by myself, bye Tilda. Shiba understood that since he didn't mention his name, it obviously had nothing to do with him. Simply wave goodbye. Looking at Shiba who was far away, Yi Yi turned around and walked towards the direction he came from. In front of him, the staff member led the way. Although I don't know what Nitro has arranged, but judging from the eagerness to send someone to look for him, there should be something important. The thought of anticipation flashed through my mind. 5 minutes later. Nitro's office. President. Push the door and enter, simply say hello. What you see is standing by the window. Nitro looking at the scenery leisurely. Yo tilde Yi Yi Jang, you're here. As if unaware of Yiki's existence, he expressed surprise at Yiki's arrival. Sit down now. He pointed to the bench beside him and asked Yi Yi to sit down first. There are a few cups of cool tea on the table. Apparently, several people had been here before his arrival. Judging from the number of teas, it should be the previous examiners. Analysis based on the existing information is Yi Yi's consistent style. Unfortunately, there is too little information to guess too much information. First of all, he was ready to leave, and the association did not block it before. The summons to oneself is a temporary decision. The teacups in front of them indicate that the examiners have been exposed to this information before. But he still chose to summon himself. Most likely they can't solve it, or need help. Or something happened, related to him. Nitro hereby called the examiner to discuss. With just a few cups of tea, Yi Yi could only guess these few. Well tilde you don't have to guess, I'll tell you directly. Nitro walked to his desk, directly to the thoughts in Yi Yi's mind. Although your face is the same as before, you can't hide the eyes you look at the teacup and look around. Look at this. A report, thrown by Nitro. Crack. I grabbed it and opened it at night to check it out. Not much information is reported. In just a moment of effort, Yi Yi will look at it all. Interesting, but what does that have to do with me? Chimay continent, which is relatively far from here. Survival of the ethnic group known as the Guidong. A few decades ago, it was still a state of hunting. According to local historical records, they worshipped a deity called the goddess of thinking. There is even an auditorium dedicated to worship. But since people from the outside world have explored there, the baptism of the information age will change everything. Today's ghost dong people are no different from ordinary people in the outside world. The service to the goddess of thinking is no longer what it used to be. For such an ordinary nation, Yi Yi didn't understand why Nitro had deliberately called him back. Well tilde now that you've read this information, I'm here to tell you some unrecorded information. Nitro brushed his beard, and his face was not as leisurely as before. The goddess of thinking exists. Yi Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. Her name is actually not the goddess of thinking, it's just the name that the old man forced to come over 100 years ago. He didn't seem to notice Yi Yi's eyes. Nitro continued to talk about those secret messages. Her real name is Sebastian. The sacrifice to her by the Dong people is the process of strengthening the seal. The movement of stroking his beard did not stop. But his eyes fell into memory. A woman who the old man once fought with, the thoughts that arise after death. It took a lot of effort to seal her after this thought after death. Interrupt the memories at night. Call me over to hear the story. He was not interested in the experience of the old man when he was young. No, it's just that my seal was broken this morning. Nitro came back to his senses and patted his head embarrassedly. Chapter 51 Airship Crew Center. Yi Yi sat in the waiting room, looked at the ticket in his hand, and recalled what happened before. Half an hour ago. Nitro touched his head and said something embarrassed. It's nothing serious, it's just that the seal I set has been undone. When he said this, Nitro's expression remained the same. It really wasn't a big deal for him. But I have a national conference chair in an hour and don't have time to deal with it. So this matter can only be left to the people below. Having said that, Nitro glanced at Yi Yi. It's just that you can see that these hunters under my command are not very strong, and it is difficult to find other people for a while. Nitro was not finished yet. Don't go. The voice was cold and firm. Become a hunter, just to be able to enjoy those conveniences. It's just that Nitro seems to have already prepared. A commission of 5 billion rennies tilde. A check dangled in his hand. Night 1. There are people out there who can help you become stronger. What, why don't you go? Night 1. Half an hour later. Yi Yi came to the airship crew center and bought an airship ticket to Chimay continent. Of course, Yi Yi wasn't for 5 billion yuan. Although as a killer, taking a commission is not a big deal. But Yi Yi this time, just to find the existence that can make him stronger. If I guessed correctly, it should be her. It was her existence that made Yi Yi agree to Nitro's request. Ding! Your account number ending in 8868 has received a deposit from Junie. Thank you for choosing our bank. The mobile phone text message alerted the passengers waiting for the flight beside him. Everyone's eyes turned to Yi Yi's direction. Among these gazes are wonder, curiosity, playfulness, and greed. In this regard, a murderous intent permeated all around. In an instant, everyone stayed in their seats peacefully. I dare not continue to look around. Passengers heading to Chimay mainland, the airship is ready, please log in time. Take back the killing intent. Check in at night to check in. It's just that he doesn't know that at the same time. The 3 robbers who had just completed the robbery were now pretending to be ordinary tourists, ready to find a place to hide from the limelight. Wait until the limelight passes, and continue to come out to work. At this time, there's not much fun in Chimay continent. Basically, not many people go there. Why don't you go and see the Kukulu mountain with me? The quarrel between the couples not far away attracted the attention of the gang. For the latter content, they do not care. The first sentence is enough. Kai Mei continent. I will go to Kai Mei continent this time. The big man with a cigar made a decision. No problem. It's time to hide in another place. Every time I go to the desert, there is no place to play at all. Beside the big man. A fat old man. His gray hair seemed to represent his age. Is it Kai Mei continent? I hope there is a place here to take care of my face. The one who said this was a beautiful woman with light makeup. He seems to be very concerned about his appearance. Even if you choose to flee, you must take care of your face. 3 people not far away. A man reading a book quietly closed his book and left after hearing the boarding information. Judging from his direction, he seemed to be heading towards the airship bound for Chimay continent. After an hour, the airship took off slowly and flew towards the sky. The buildings next to him are getting smaller and smaller, and in the end, they are blurred like ants moving. Find your room at night. Simply check to make sure there are no problems. Put your bag aside and meditate quietly cross-legged. Although I don't know how strong she really is when dealing with the so-called after-death thoughts this time. But judging from the fact that Nitro personally sealed her 100 years ago, her strength should not be underestimated. What Yi can do at this time is to try his best to adapt to his new abilities. I don't know that this posthumous mind has some of the strength of Nitro. System panel. Host, Night 1. World, full-time hunter. Number of inheritances, 1. Inherited figure, Ichimaru Jin. Unlock progress, %. Zanpakudo, spear first solution. Spiritual pressure, 500. Ability to master. Spirit body unlocked. / the fighting method of the god of death using a knife, sword. White strike, the body art of the god of death. Shunpo, Reaper's high-speed movement skills. Ghost Road intermediate, the advanced spell used by the god of death to fight, divides the way and binds the way. Reiatsu perception intermediate, the Shinigami's ability to sense the surroundings using Reiki. The next ability to unlock, need to unlock progress 50%. Through the battle with Ilmi, Yoichi has become more proficient in the use of abilities. Unlock progress has also increased by 2%. It is this 2%, which just makes it reach the 25% unlocking progress. Inherited abilities have further changed. The sword technique is promoted to the slashing technique, and the level is lost. And the application of weapons is not only limited to knives. Reiatsu perception and ghost path have been promoted from elementary to intermediate. Specific changes. When using spiritual pressure sensory at the primary level, Yi can only perceive the approximate situation in a radius of 500 meters. Now, Yi used spiritual pressure to sense the surroundings, and could clearly perceive the situation within a radius of 2 kilometers. The use of ghosts can now use ghosts before number 50. Compared with the previous number 30, it is a slight improvement. Wu tilde. Taking a long breath, Yi put all his energy into meditation. Master your newly acquired abilities as quickly as possible. A faint sense of oppression emanated from Yi's body. This is the skyrocketing Reiatsu, which diffuses outward because it is not mastered. The other side. In the airship hall, a man sitting by the window quietly reading a book. It seems to feel something. Attention shifted from the book in hand. A special feeling that seems to be similar to Nien, but it gives me a higher level than Nien. The mind of the body fluctuates. This is something that a man has not encountered in a long time. Maybe this journey will bring unexpected rewards. The spider's smile blooms here. 3 shifts. Chapter 52_. Yi didn't know. The Reiatsu emanating from oneself unconsciously will be felt by others. At this time, wholeheartedly but immersed in meditation. Let his consciousness almost all condense on himself. Only a trace is left, to be alert to the outside world. The other side. In a private room. Boss, after arriving at Kaimei continent, we will be hiding for a while, so why don't we take this opportunity to cast the last vote? The only woman among the robbers, giving advice to the so-called boss. That's right. As long as you wait until it's about to land, and when you're done, take the parachute and leave. We'll have a lot of money to spend by then. Hearing the suggestion of the teammate next to him, the old man hurriedly persuaded his boss. So the two of you are specifically united, and finding my room is such a trivial matter. Facing the thoughts of the two, the big man closed his eyes and thought. To him, the money robbed in the last vote is enough to spend for several years. There's no need to take the risk and get a vote. But after getting on the airship, he found that the luxury of the airship was a bit exaggerated. It would be a pity if not. Don't worry, Boss, I have confirmed that there are no other capable people on this airship. Seeing the strong man, the old man seemed a little moved, and quickly opened his mouth to talk about his discovery. At the same time, he gestured to his companion from an angle he couldn't see. Yes, Potter has just checked, and there are no other capable people on this airship. Although Potter did not go to check. But in order to make the strong man in front of them agree with the two's plan, they don't mind giving out some unfounded intelligence. Heard the news of the two. The strong man finally made up his mind. It's done. When the airship is about to land, it is also the time when everyone is the most relaxed, so let's start at that time. Now that you have decided to do this, vote, be ruthless. Pat, you're in charge of collecting money and closing things out, as always. Looking at the old man, the strong man distributed everyone's work. Jasley, you are the same as before, using puppets to drive the meat tickets together. The light makeup woman heard her work with a pure smile on her face. Night. End the day with meditation. Yi walked towards the restaurant. It will take at least a week for this airship to reach Chimay continent. During this period, except for a few transfers, the airship will not land. In other words, if you want to fill your stomach, you can only eat in the restaurant of the airship. Pay for dinner. Yi Food walked towards the table. Just at the moment of turning around, I saw an unexpected person. Reaching out and pressing down the top hat on his head, he walked in the opposite direction. Find an empty seat, sit down and prepare to destroy the food in front of you. This friend, since it is fate to meet, why not have a meal together? Just sit down. In the vacant seat opposite, a figure also sat down. A soft voice came from the mouth. Looking at the figure sitting down, Yi said his name. Krolo Rusalu, _ although dressed in casual clothes. But the bandages on the head and the pendants made of liquid ore on the ears. They all tell the identity of the person who came. Although I don't want to take the initiative to contact you, it seems that it is unavoidable now. Two pairs of dark eyes stared at each other. Oh, I was planning to introduce myself, but it doesn't seem to be necessary. Exiting from looking at each other, Krolo sat across the night. The moment I saw me, I subconsciously left in the opposite direction, and I was able to say my name. It seems that my information has been leaked. Although it is said. But Krolo elegantly cut the steak, and it didn't seem like he was worried at all. I think too much, it's just that I know it personally. In response to the inquiries of the man in front of him, Yi said directly what he wanted to know. The movement of the hands did not stop. Swallow and chew the noodles rolled into a lump with a fork. Judging from the movement of Krolo cutting the steak, he did not have any bad thoughts. That being the case, Yi will not take the initiative to provoke an enemy who does not know the depths. After all, the two had never communicated before. Really, that really startled me, and it wouldn't be a big deal if you only knew about Yi. Facing Yi's reply, Krolo smiled. Just this smile revealed a lot. Then, there was a moment of silence. Only the sound of eating from both sides could be heard. Food was wiped out quickly. Yi picked up a tissue and wiped the corners of his mouth, ready to get up and leave. But Krolo's words made his movements stagnate. I went to Chimay continent this time, presumably Yi-Jun is also for that posthumous recitation, I guessed right. He sat down again and looked at Krolo with cold eyes. Break the seal after death. It was the Hunter Association that only got the news this morning. After getting the news, he entrusted Yaiki to solve it. It only took about half an hour. Logically speaking, there is no possibility of leakage. But judging from Krolo's words in front of him, it was obvious that he had taken a fancy to the after-death thoughts of breaking the seal. It's just not sure whether he learned the news before getting on the airship or after getting on the airship. I have a question, how did you get this information? Looking at Krolo's inexplicable smile, Yi asked him seriously. Krolo's answer will affect his next actions. Association. The Hunter Association entrusted me to go to Chimay continent to deal with this post-mortem thought. I can only tell you this one piece of information. The smile remains. Crollo did not hesitate, and directly told himself the reason for being on this airship. Hearing the words, Yi closed his eyes and thought. According to that old fox from Nitro, someone who can make me stronger has gone to Chimay continent. Crollo went to Chimay continent with me, so the person he said was definitely not Crollo. Nitro didn't tell me about Crollo's existence, or even he didn't know Crollo was going to Chimay continent. In the Hunter Association, only the top of the association can bypass him and issue such an order. He opened his eyes, his dark pupils emitting a deep light. It's Periston, I entrusted it to you. Chapter 53_. Looking at Yi's eyes that see through everything. The praise in Crollo's heart was even better. I am more satisfied with the information I received today. I didn't reveal all of that. Cross your hands on your chin. He looked at Yoichi, who was lost in thought. For Crollo, a person who has not developed his own hair ability has no ability worth stealing. What's more, for the substitute members who are optimistic about him, all he will do is help it develop its capabilities, not destroy it before it fully grows. That's right, at the moment of obtaining Yi's information. He already regarded Yi as a backup member of the brigade. Relying only on their own combat skills and application skills of the mind. It is already comparable to the combat team members in the brigade. If guided, develop appropriate competencies. Its future cannot be estimated. In the face of such a budding talent, he has a heart of cherishing talent. Looks like you're involved in a feud between factions. Such a convenient tool as a hunter license, Crollo naturally obtained it long ago. For some of the high level, but also some contacts. Periston is one of them. Therefore, there is also some understanding of the factional battle between Periston and the association president Nitro. It's just the dispute between the Hunter Association that doesn't affect him. This time, I just heard that there is such a posthumous mind. Only accepted Periston's commission. However, this is said to be a delegation, but it is actually a transaction. Periston didn't want Nitro and added a talented direct descendant. Crollo, on the other hand, likes reading, collecting, hunting, interesting things or treasures. Therefore, Periston revealed this information to Crollo. No matter what choice Crollo makes, as long as it affects Yi's actions, his purpose is achieved. It's just that he, as the head of the Phantom Troop, is not so easy to be used by others. Chimay Continent's posthumous thoughts really attracted his attention. Yi, who can cause all this, is even more favored by him. As a robber, it must be both. Yi had already fallen into a cobweb woven by his own hands. He's just the opposite of the old man. If someone else entrusted Crollo to solve the after-death thoughts, Yi might be a little more afraid. But the Periston guy. These actions he made were just to cause trouble for Nitro. Yi's words were slightly different from Crollo's own thoughts. He envisioned that Yi would opt out of the operation after learning the news. Or it was a conflict with the self entrusted by Periston. Or it was Yi who didn't care on the surface, but secretly he was vigilant to himself. But at this moment, Yi didn't care. It was something Crollo didn't expect. Of course, even if things didn't turn out as he expected, Crollo's expression didn't change in the slightest. Still smiling at Yi. Although he was already involved, Yi didn't want to pay attention to the games of Nitro and Periston. Since the purpose is the same, then do you choose to cooperate or deal with it alone? As a killer, Yaiki puts his mission first. Although the target to be killed this time is a bit special, as long as the mission can be completed, it can be done alone or in cooperation with others. I don't mind at night. He could even feel that Crollo was plotting against him. But it doesn't matter as long as the task can be done. Interesting, in this case I choose to cooperate. Krollo didn't know what to think, but Yaiki raised the possibility of cooperation. He would not miss this opportunity. After confirming the partnership, Yi left his phone number and turned to leave. There are still a few days to reach Chimay continent. During this period, he did not want to have too much contact with this man. Interesting, so funny. Looking at Yi's retreating back, Krollo's evaluation of him was getting higher and higher. 5 nights later. On this day, Yi did not meditate like the previous days. The staff gave notice on the horn in advance. The airship will land on Chimay at 3 o'clock midnight. Simply pack up your belongings and erase your traces. Always be ready to leave. It just seemed that someone didn't want his voyage to end so simply. ... The quiet night was broken by a sound. The passengers who were sleeping were also awakened. Dozens of masked people suddenly appeared on the airship. Under the deterrence of weapons. Everyone was forced to walk out of their rooms and gather in the direction of the hall. After a few minutes, the hall, which had been empty because of the night, was once again busy during the day. A group of passengers in only pajamas waited in the lobby for the robbers' arrangement in a panic. Around them was a group of masked men with guns. Bang! The old man named Potter seemed to have found something. A hideous smile appeared on his face. Put your hands in a shooting stance. Next moment. Pung tilde. Standing at the end of the crowd was a woman in her 20s. The position she was in was the blind spot of those masked people. After realizing this, the woman had a new idea in her mind. The body turned around one after another, and wanted to leave on tiptoe. However, an invisible bullet penetrated her chest. Pat tilde. In disbelief, he looked at the blood gushing out from his body. The corpse fell powerless to the ground. The old man let out a satisfied smile. Did you see what happened to her? If you try to escape, you'll be like her. The people around were only a little panicked before. In their view, as long as the money is paid, there will probably be nothing wrong. But when a corpse actually appears, fear is hard to suppress. Countless screams came from the crowd. Facing this scene, the old man seems to be very experienced. Just raise your arms towards the sky. Bang tilde bang tilde bang tilde. After a few shots, the screaming people instantly regained their peace. Chapter 54_. As a 60-year-old who accidentally awakened, Potter's strength is not strong. You can only turn your own thoughts into bullets to shoot. For those with powerful psychic abilities, even their raps cannot be pierced. And because he is too old, his thoughts are too meager. Therefore, it was arranged to collect the money. The trio can loot for so many years. With the help of 2 other people. Boss, William. A person with the ability to strengthen the system. Every time he encounters a powerful enemy in action, he will solve it. Jazly. Those who are capable of the operating system use the dozens of psychic puppets they control to intimidate each time they act. Get your cell phones out and we'll spare your life as long as you transfer all your belongings to my account. Although Potter said this sentence almost every time, no one ever survived from the hands of the trio. It's just that the work of collecting money is better. This is what you would say in the face of robbers. Passengers didn't believe it. It's just that in the current situation, everyone can only follow Potter's arrangement. As Potter walked past them, he transferred all of his savings to his account. It's just that after collecting the properties of nearly 10 people, the amount has not yet reached 100 million ninjas. This made him a little angry. Take a risk and do another vote, not for these petty profits. He grabbed a man from the crowd and pointed his finger at his head. The man who was caught begged for mercy loudly. Let me go, I have money, as long as you let me go, I'll give you everything. It was the hand he had just seen with his own eyes. Just pointing at the woman who wanted to escape, the woman died as if shot. He didn't want to die like this. But Potter ignored it. If you can't find a way to collect 3 billion rennies for me at one time, all of you don't want to live. The voice fell. Bang. Like the scene of a watermelon bursting, it appeared in front of everyone. Yuck tilde. Almost everyone couldn't accept this picture and retched. After the retching, they were troubled by getting together 3 billion Buddhist nuns. All the people present gathered together, and the money they collected was only 1 billion yuan. Crucial moment. Someone remembered the man who openly showed off his wealth before getting on the airship. Wait, I know who is rich, he has at least 5 billion ren. A thin man walked out of the crowd. As airship crew. He specializes in the record work before boarding. At that time, the sound of Yi Yi's collection was so loud, it naturally attracted his attention. And according to the passenger list of the airship, he knew that Yi Yi did not transfer halfway. With the reminder of this thin man, everyone also heard the scene from a few days ago. At this moment, they were like grabbing a life-saving straw. That's right, I remember there was such a person, he was in the hall at that time, and he directly received 5 billion yuan from his mobile phone. That's right, maybe he has more ringworms on him. The greed of human nature is in full play at this moment. Hall shade. Yi Yi leaned on a railing and watched the passengers in the distance wantonly betray their existence. I don't know what to think. How do you feel watching those travelers betray you like this? Krollo emerged from the shadows on the side. With the strength of the two, they are not afraid of the so-called robbers at all. Under the perception of Yuan, the most powerful existence among the three could not withstand the random blows of the two. The knight is just habitually hiding. But such a picture is indeed somewhat beyond his expectations. Although Yaiki is not a good person, in order to ensure the continued flight of the flight, he intends to solve the trouble. But now it's not just 3 people who want to solve it. Just some rubbish that doesn't see itself clearly. The tone was cold and calm. Just as he always does. In that case, how about I kill them all for you? The smile on Krollo's face remained the same. But what he said contained murderous intent. No, I'll do it myself. The perception of mind can easily distinguish whether a person is malicious to himself or not. 90% of the crowd in the hall were full of malice towards themselves. The figure emerges from the darkness. I heard you were looking for me. Since you are full of malice towards others, you must be prepared to accept the malice of others. I'm here. The voice falls. The evil thoughts full of Yi Yi's killing intent rushed towards them like a raging wave. An old man named Potter. Only lasted 3 seconds. Under this sudden killing thought, he lost consciousness forever. Even those who are psychic can't resist. Not to mention those who are not ordinary people. Ordinary people who faced killing thoughts instantly fell down in rows like straws. 7 orifices bleed and died. The only one who survived was the one who didn't have any malicious intent towards Yoichi. Look at the corpses with such a terrifying appearance around them. Louder screams spread. After screaming, the people who were relieved found that the old man who threatened them also died. The masked people who drove them to the hall also disappeared. The surviving people seemed to understand something. I want to thank Yaiki. However, he found that just like his mysterious appearance, he mysteriously disappeared at this moment. The other side. Airship cab. The eldest of the trio flies normally in an airship. Beside him is an operating system capable person called Jasly. But at the moment she was already in a coma. William didn't feel anything wrong with that. Although Jasly is a capable person of the operating system. But controlling more than a dozen Nianqi puppets at a time is also very expensive. Every time she resolved all the meat tickets, she would fall into a brief coma the moment she removed the doll. Only this time it was faster. There is no such thing as the slightest idea that something unexpected will happen. After all, in the detection of the 2 subordinates, this airship did not have the existence of other minds. PFF'd. A hand slammed through William's body. How? How is it possible? Struggling to look back. Yi, who looked indifferent, caught his eye. In the hall. Feel the fleeting thoughts. Krollo closed his eyes tightly, and a satisfied smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chapter 55 _ The airship landed at the Chimay Continental Airship Crew Center. Despite the hijacking incident. But in the end, it successfully reached its destination. The two got off the airship. An inconspicuous little car drove by. Drip tilde drip tilde. The window glass rolls down. Little brother, not by car. An uncle in his 40s shouted to the two of them. While speaking, his left arm stretched out of the car, knocking on the door seemingly at random. After a while, the car took the two away. Along the way, the driver explained the current situation to Yi and Krollo. Although the goddess of thinking has broken the seal, it is also very draining on her. The uncle looked very serious. As a member of the Ghost Dong tribe, when he first came into contact with the truth of the matter, he also doubted the truth. But when he saw what was happening with his own eyes, the doubts subsided naturally. What followed was only deep fear. Faith for many years is such a terrifying existence. The two people in front of them were specially sent by the Hunter Association to solve this mutation. Naturally he did not dare to neglect. The day Sebastian broke the seal, all the surrounding tombs were affected. The clansmen who once died were resurrected under this influence and turned into a peculiar existence. Speaking of which, the middle-aged uncle seemed to recall a sad memory. The voice became hoarse and sad. The resurrected clansmen have lost their memories of when they were alive, and become monsters that eat people when they see them. Hear this familiar description. A hint of doubt flashed in Yi's eyes. Such a description is no different from the so-called zombies in the previous life. I just don't know that these zombies are formed because of after-death thoughts. Does it have the same weakness as the previous zombies? If so, these zombies are nothing to fear. Compared to the calm of the night. Krollo on the side looked interested. As the head of the Phantom Troop, he has seen so many treasures, wonders, and wonders. But this kind of existence is the first time I have heard of it. Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it's better to call them zombies. Although it was the first contact, Krollo came up with a suitable name in a blink of an eye. Before we came, did the zombies who attacked you transform the living into the same situation as them? Krollo's gentle voice. Let the middle-aged uncle who has fallen into sad memories relax a little. Yes, as long as they are attacked by zombies, no matter whether they create wounds or not, they will become the same existence as them within 10 minutes. The man had recovered somewhat before the meeting. A series of inquiries came from Krollo's mouth. It's terrifying to exist like this. How is the condition of the commissioner who arrived first? On the first day, my lord, there was a fight when we rescued us, and the other days have been searching for survivors. It was really hard work. ... Listening to Krollo's intermittent inquiries. Yi closed his eyes boringly. A few hours later. The sky is getting brighter. An artificial cordon appeared in front of several people. There are dozens of fully armed men, controlling the entry and exit of people. After an exception occurs. The leaders of this area, in order to avoid further escalation of the situation. This area has already been sealed off. The car stopped. The middle-aged uncle got out of the car and negotiated with one of them. A few minutes of conversation passed. The lift rod that controls access is raised. The car restarts. Another few hours passed. The car drove through the abandoned towns one by one. Finally stopped in a temporary station. But it is a station, it is just a tent that stretches as far as the eye can see. Hear the sound of the car engine. A crowd of refugees poured out of the tent. After a week of hell on earth, their clothes were already dirty. The body also emits a peculiar smell because it is not cleaned for a long time. But no one cared about that. I am very lucky to have survived. After seeing the vehicle that was not transporting food, the group returned to the tent in loss. The impact of zombies is greater than Yi imagined. Although the city where the airship transfer center is located is not prosperous, the streets are full of popularity. This area can be blocked. Apart from this, he was not seeing any trace of a living person. The middle-aged uncle grabbed the person and asked a few simple questions. After getting the confirmed information, I brought the two of them with me. Go to one of the tents. Sir Bishiji tilde the people from the association are here, is it convenient for you to meet? Take into account the gender of the people who live inside. The uncle did not bring the two in directly, but just shouted a few words at the door. Yi was not surprised at all when he heard Bai Siji's name. When Nitro said that someone could help him become stronger, he already thought it would be her. As a disciple of Heart Source, it is impossible for Nitro to push Yi to other sects. And Yi's current strength, who can teach him, is not many in the heart. And the only one who can be related to Yi is Bishiji. As for Crollo, although some of the accidental advance personnel are women, there are not too many thoughts. Born on Meteor Street, he only respects the strong. A voice came from the tent. Are you here? Come in directly. The uncle who led the way also completed his mission and walked towards his tent. Picked up people before midnight and drove all the way. On the way, I have to worry about whether there will be a sneak attack by zombies. The loss of energy has made him exhausted. Enter the tent. Then I saw Bai Siji drinking coffee and leisurely looking at a handsome magazine. Compared with the bleak atmosphere outside, it is two completely different worlds. Yo tilde, although it's the first time we met, that kid Youngu mentioned you to me several times. Hose tilde. Yi said hello. Well tilde, let's not talk about time urgency. Put down your coffee. Look at Crollo. The man who hadn't said a word since entering the tent. Since you can receive a commission, it means that your strength is decent. I won't talk nonsense, I will directly introduce the current situation, and I will wait until I have time to introduce myself. Although he likes beautiful men, at the critical moment, Bai Siji can also distinguish the importance. 3 shifts. Chapter 56_. Compared to Yi and Crollo who just came here, Bai Siji obviously has more information. First of all, it's the corpse that was revived by Sebastian after her death. Stretch out an index finger. The moment ordinary people come into contact with a corpse, they will be assimilated by polluted thoughts and become their own kind. But those who read ability, don't worry about this. Covering the thoughts around the body, and at the moment of contact with the corpse, discarding the thoughts that are polluted by oneself can prevent oneself from being assimilated. The serious expression suddenly changed, and the tone returned to a relaxed attitude. So these ordinary corpses are not a big threat to us. These corpses are just a thought to delay time after Sebastian's death. Yi didn't know much about the cognition of mind after death. So I don't think there is any doubt. Just compared to the night. Crollo knows more about it. Posthumous thoughts, as the name suggests, are thoughts that arise after death. Because of death, his ability will be much stronger than before his death because of his obsession. But most of them are in a kind of unconsciousness, just simple execution of the obsession before death. Deliberately transforming the corpse to delay time, I have some doubts about this. Compared to just being curious, accepting Paris Stone's commission to solve the problem. This moment. It is the real thought of taking over this after-death thought. This so-called special purpose is carried out by the will of the mind itself after death. My understanding is correct. The gentle and elegant voice seemed to be mixed with something at this moment. That's right, in the seal that lasted for more than 100 years, Sebastian's mind changed after his death and regained his will. As for Crollo's guess, Bisuki expressed certainty. According to the information I got from the old man, Sebastian's ability before her death was resurrection. Bai Siji doesn't mind sharing some more information. Of course, this so-called resurrection is not complete, it's just resurrecting the dead body and using it to fight. It's just that her abilities seem to have changed a bit after being strengthened after death. The 4 men who followed her were dealt with by the old man 100 years ago. Even if they were resurrected, they would still look like ordinary corpses outside. But based on the pictures I took, they didn't seem to be any different from normal people. After speaking, he took out 4 photos from the table beside him. Hand it to the 2 of them. In each of the 4 photos, there is a figure of a person. 3 men and 1 woman. Wearing slightly outdated clothes, the 4 of them lay on their knees as if guarding something. It was a good night, and I have experienced the influence of the information explosion. The ability to resurrect is rare, but not unheard of. Krollo is different. He walked out of Meteor Street, and his feelings for the people he identified with were even stronger. He doesn't reject anything, but don't even think about taking anything from him. Revive this ability. Make sure that you and your team members will never leave you. The desire in my heart keeps expanding. The next moment, it disappeared without a trace. Now is not the time. Krollo, the brain that leads the spider forward. A man who could give up his life for the brigade. His measure made him suppress his inner desires. This also made Bishiji, who was on the side, look at it differently. I haven't introduced myself yet. She didn't know that the man in front of her was the notorious head of the Phantom Troop. As a gem hunter, all she cares about is lies, gems, rough diamonds, handsome men, and R-rated magazines. Although Krollo's appearance really made her heart, but the 2 did not meet before. What he knew about him was just a companion entrusted by the association to help him solve his thoughts after death. Well, according to the old man's description, the ability of those 4 subordinates is not strong, and the information about them is also very detailed. It is still very easy to solve them. The most notable one is this fellow Sebastian. Bishiji's expression returned to seriousness. Sebastian's strength 100 years ago was only a few points weaker than that of the old man when he was young. Now, after the strengthening of the posthumous mind, the strength does not know how far it has improved. If the strength of the old man is the same as when he was young, I am afraid that I will have to pay a lot to complete this task. The scene was silent. If the strength of the enemy is the same as that of Nitro when he was young. Not to mention the completion of this commission, whether or not he can survive is a question. But Nitro obviously won't give Yuichi a mortal task. Obviously, this commission has a breaking point. A moment of contemplation. Yaiki and Krollo spoke at the same time. Time. Obviously have the answer. It's been a week since the seal was broken, but I still haven't appeared in the afterlife called Sebastian. It means that her resurrection has not been completed, or is still in the process of being resurrected. Krollo said, and pointed to the photo on the side. The 4 of them obviously maintain the same posture, and it can be guessed that they are using a method we don't know to resurrect Sebastian. Our only breaking point is here. The 3 of them have grown to where they are now, and they do not lack the eyesight to see through the truth. Yes, as long as we get rid of Sebastian before she is fully resurrected, this incident will be over. Appreciative eye. Throwing it towards Yaiki and Krollo. I realized it when I took pictures of 4 of Sebastian's men. That's why I applied to the association for assistance. Compared with Siji's strength, it is easy to get rid of the 4 subordinates. But it can only be solved separately. Her fighting style does not have the means to instantly solve the 4 of them. If you don't get rid of the 4 at the same time, Sebastian will definitely be alarmed. Speed up her resurrection. This is also the reason why she honestly waited for Yi and Krollo to arrive at the station. You both passed my test. A smile spread on Bisuki's face again. Introduce myself, I'm a 2-star gem hunter, Bisji Kuruga. 4 shifts. 2 chapters will be updated tomorrow, and they will be on the shelves in the afternoon. Chapter 57_. Night falls. 3 figures leave the station. Run quickly towards the hall where the ghosts and Dong people worship on the map. because of the knowledge of the information. More than the newcomer Yi and Krolo. Under the acquiescence of the two, BCG became the temporary leader. But the three do not know. Right after leaving the station, in the shadows, a dry figure silently watched them go away. The sacrificial hall dozens of kilometers away from the station. The gloomy sacrificial altar is shrouded in darkness. A figure was suspended in the air of the sacrificial altar. Countless dark thoughts surrounded this figure. Accompanied by thoughts, every circle around. The figure became more condensed. Under the sacrificial altar, a figure opens its eyes. Beside her, there are three companions. The one who spoke was the only woman among the four. Walter, as you said, Nitro has sent someone here again. A male voice sounded. There are still the last 3 hours until the adult is fully resurrected. Another male voice. They can't be allowed to disturb the resurrection of the adults, they must be stopped. A female voice sounded. There are 3 people on the other side, and 3 people must be dispatched to stop it. The first male voice sounded again. In that case, Daphne, you stay here to protect the Lord. After a few brief conversations, the altar was once again quiet. For the zombies encountered along the road, try to face them by avoiding them. Face the upcoming battle. The waste of even the slightest thought can lead to defeat. A petite form of Bishiki. Although a lot of power has been sealed, but relatively, the speed has been improved. Although not running at full speed. But not ordinary people can keep up. The two of them looked relaxed. It made her score in her heart improve a lot. The leader of the Phantom Brigade did not expect to carry out a mission with such a monster. Yoichi looking at the right side of his body. But Yi was able to keep up with me, which was really unexpected. At the current speed, even Yunji couldn't keep up with her pace. Interesting, that kid Yunji finally did something serious. As Yungu's master, Bai Siji knew him well. Although it is an ability of the reinforcement system. But that peaceful nature made him more suitable for being a teacher than fighting others. Such a rough stone can be found in the Sky Arena. It is also a contribution to her master. Bishiji has made up his mind. After completing this assignment, take a good rest for a while. By the way, polished, the newly acquired rough stone. Thinking of this, my heart is full of joy. Compared with Bishiji, who is rich in heart, the two people on the side don't have so many ideas. For Yi, completing the commission is the top priority. Although I haven't seen the so-called Sebastian yet. But Yi had already simulated in his mind what might happen. Prepare a plan in advance. As for Krolo, Yi didn't know what he was thinking. However, I heard that Sebastian's ability was the desire that manifested in her body when she was resurrected. In association with his ability, the extreme intention of thieves. It's not hard to guess his purpose. After an hour, the pace of the team was forced to stop. Fortunately, at this moment, there is only the last kilometer of distance from the sacrificial hall to which we are going. 3 figures emerge from the darkness. One tall, one short, one thin. The 3 are relatively recognizable. Look at the figure that appeared in the photo. A hint of helplessness flashed in BG's eyes. Walter, Elsie, and Dana are 3 warriors under the command of the Goddess of Mind. Since the 3 came out to block it, the information about themselves and others has obviously been exposed. Shorty, Dana. Cut, sure enough, you know us. He looked at Bishiji, who was similar in height to himself. The words were full of perseverance. Skinny Elsie doesn't care about that. It doesn't matter, under the ability of adults, we are now several times stronger than in the past. In the face of the 2 of them talking to themselves, Bisuki just made a gesture from behind. Before departure, the corresponding passwords and tactics have been negotiated. At the moment of seeing the gesture, Yi and Krolo took action. Concentration of thoughts under the feet. Muscles work spontaneously. Next moment. Su tilde. Less than a second. With a soft sound. Yi and Krollo appeared next to the tall and thin man respectively. Each uses its own method to bring it out of place. The three of them appeared in front of Yi and others, and the beheading operation was declared bankrupt. The next person to face may be Sebastian, who was resurrected early. Therefore, weaken the enemy's strength as much as possible. Became the consensus of the three. The moment Yi appeared beside tall Walter, a lot of thoughts were gathered in his right foot in advance. It seems to have been resurrected not long after. Walter hadn't reacted to Yi's raid. A side kick was kicked out by Yi. Different from kicking to attack when fighting Ilmi. The purpose of this time is just to divide the battlefield. A huge force emanated from Yi's legs. Pung tilde. The sound of physical collision sounded. Next moment. A figure flew into the sky. At Yi's foot, Walter was kicked nearly 100 meters away. At the moment of the raid, Yi could completely kill him by surprise with his sharp spear. But after thinking about what to do next, she could go head to head with Sebastian. The idea of hiding the sharp gun came naturally. With this idea, Yi gave up the idea of killing Walter with a sharp gun. The left and right are just subordinates, so the existence of the sharp gun is exposed. Not worth it. Watching the figure gradually fly away Walter. Yi's right hand was vain. 3 huge beak-shaped beams were drawn in the air. 30 of binding Dao, the mouth flashes 3 times. 3 huge beak-shaped beams flew in the direction of Walter. Yes, damn it. It was a sneak attack. Falling from the air to the ground, before standing up. Walter saw the golden light flying towards him. Subconsciously want to escape. But the speed at which the light came was far beyond his imagination. Crack. 3 huge beak-shaped beams fixed his hands and waist on the ground. Totally unable to move. P.S. The last 3 changes before the launch will be officially launched at 5 p.m. Chapter 58_. The huge beak-shaped beam that flew suddenly fixed Walter on the ground. This special ability made him somewhat unexpected. The body subconsciously exerted force, trying to break free from the beam that trapped him. Damn it, why can't I struggle with this? But all in vain. The hands were fixed to one side, unable to exert force at all. And the light beam that bound him at the waist inhibited his control of the lower part of the torso. At this moment, under the restraint of 3 flashes of mouth, Walter has completely lost the ability to act. According to information given by Nitro, he is a powerhouse of the enhancement department. The best way to fight is to use psychic energy to strengthen the body and carry out hand-to-hand attacks with the enemy. The shackles used by Yiki, the most fearless, are the enemies who only use brute force. If it is an operating system, or a release system, etc., those who are familiar with the application of mind power, maybe it will be able to unravel Yi's control over him. But unfortunately, he is not. Even if Sebastian revives them, Nian is several times stronger than before. But not skilled in the application, it's just a young child with a weapon. In the end it can only be like a caterpillar, struggling to wriggle his body. Night out. Looking at the figure wriggling on the ground, I was a little disappointed. If it was Yunji Yu, he would be able to break free in less than a minute. Nian's practice, as expected, still focuses on skills. To use the 3 flashes of mouth to Walter, more want to test the newly mastered ghost way. But judging from his struggling appearance, it seems that he does not have the ability to be a sandbag. His right hand was aimed at the immobile Walter on the ground. Broken down number 4, by Lei. A beam of lightning suddenly shot out from Yi's finger. In Walter's unbelievable eyes. A blow pierced his heart. Cough. Black blood gushed from his throat. Damn it, I just came back to life, and my long-cherished wish to help the Savior resurrect has not yet been fulfilled. I can't just die like this. The muscles of the body swelled wildly. Mindfulness is also accompanied by changes in the body, becoming more and more profound. Walter, this sudden change. Let Yi not understand. But that didn't stop him from stepping back quickly. A moment passed. A man named Walter disappeared. In his place was a zombie with a height of nearly 3 meters and a body full of muscles. Compared to the zombies I saw along the way, this one is noticeably stronger, more shapely, and wiser. The shackles of 3 flashes of mouth were forcibly broken when Walter transformed. Ah! The transformation is not over yet. The zombie that Walter turned into was gradually wrapped in a carapace-like substance. Bang tilde. Just before the carapace wrapped around his body, another white laser shot out. Yi is not a hot-blooded male protagonist. He won't watch the enemy transform and cause trouble for himself. The huge headless corpse slammed into the ground. Walter, Han. Far away. Elsie has a hard time dodging a throwing knife. A few jumps opened the distance between him and Krollo. Barely dodging Krollo's attack. His strength may not be very strong for Nitro. But after Sebastian's resurrection, the increase. Strength has been greatly improved. Compared to the past, it is several times stronger. But even so, facing Krollo is still very difficult. Endless abilities, elusive figures. But none of that overwhelmed him. The most important thing is Krollo's grasp of the timing of using each ability. Often he has just avoided an attack, and the next attack is already waiting for his arrival at the position he avoided. While distracted, he did not find himself jumping back several times in a row. Krollo turned around abnormally and turned his back to him. Point 3 Wooden Man, don't move. A childlike voice came out. After saying this, his body turned to Elsie again. And he was still jumping backwards. You moved. Krollo's soft smile became stiff and rigid. The body has also changed, and it looks like a wood carving. Hear the mechanical words in Krollo's mouth. Elsie frowned. The next moment, the body is out of control. Pung. Under the effect of the ability, Elsie's body shattered. Turned into piles of wooden blocks scattered on the ground. I'm sorry to make you face death once again. Ability cancellation. Krollo's body returned to its original state, as if everything before was an illusion. Unfortunately, the wooden man can only be used once a week. Gently pat the dirt off his body. As if the fight with Elsie was just an after-dinner exercise. His expression was as gentle as when Yi first met. Elsie, Pawn. The other side. Bisuki's battle also came to an end. His opponent, Dana. Like Walter, he is a power user of the enhancement department. It's just that compared to Walter, he has a congenital physical disability. Therefore, he pays more attention to the technical application of mindfulness than the stronger physical body. But unfortunately, as an ability of the reinforcement system. However, he happened to encounter a person with a change-type ability that was even stronger than an enhancement-type ability person. Crack tilde. Just use lowly status. The two were already on a par. In a short fight, Bisuki has discovered Dana's incongruity caused by a congenital defect in her body. In the duel of masters, often a single flaw can determine the winner. What's more, it's a congenital defect. With more than 50 years of deceiving experience, only a little lure. Dana is like a hungry fish who has seen bait. It was easy to be fooled by Bishiji. And the price is your own life. Being punched in the arm by Dana, Bishiji's figure staggered a little. Almost fell to the ground. Chance. His eyes lit up, and Dana clenched his fists. Exaggerated thoughts condensed in it. A swinging fist hit Bishiji's head straight. At this moment, he seemed to have seen victory. Pung. Unfortunately, it was not Dana himself who won. Bishiji's staggering figure evaded his attack with a slight twist. Next moment, a huge void appeared in him. How is it possible? With doubts, Dana's body fell to the ground. I'm sorry I lied to you. Looking at the enemy who was not moving, Bishiji apologized insincerely. Dana, Pon. P.S. The last 2 updates before the release will be released on time at 1700. Chapter 59_. It took 5 minutes in total. The 3 who resolved the battle gathered together again. At the same time. A sacrificial hall a kilometer away. Gradually exudes a cold, dark aura. Obviously, after getting rid of 3 men, Sebastian had to speed up the resurrection time. There may even have been a resurrection. Since the plan to seal Sebastian while they're not paying attention has failed. Looks like a plan will have to be rearranged. Feeling the unpleasant breath in the distance, a trace of worry flashed on Bishiji's face. Let me try to make a plan. Regarding this point, Krollo offered to let him be responsible. In the short time together, I also have a little understanding of the companion in front of me. As a capable person, she is already qualified. There is no doubt about that. But as a decision maker, she's far from enough. She was the leader of the team before, just because she had a better grasp of information. But after feeling the breath coming from a distance, if Bisuki was allowed to continue to be the team leader, perhaps all 3 of the people present would die here. Fighting is not a joke. Facing Krollo's power grab, Bisuki nodded in agreement. She knows her weight. There is indeed some experience in fighting and teaching newcomers. But really formulating a detailed battle plan is still a bit difficult for her. Now that he has confirmed that he is the leader, Krollo's gaze has become more aggressive. Because of the tight time, the plan arranged by Krollo is not complicated. It just took advantage of the different characteristics of the 3 people to create a simple combat plan. 1. Containing. Bisiji is strong and has rich combat experience, but lacks the ability to kill with 1 hit, so he is responsible for containing Sebastian's actions. 2. Consumption. Krollo has a variety of abilities, and most of them are aggressive, weakening Sebastian's power with diverse abilities. 3. Killing. Compared to BCG and Krollo, Yaiki focuses more on assassination, has high attack power, and ensures the ability to kill with 1 hit, so Yaiki is responsible for the final harvest. Simply assign the respective arrangements. The 3 rushed towards the direction of the auditorium. Judging from the breath leaking out. For every extra point of delay, Sebastian's aura became stronger. This is not good news for a few people at night. Distance of 1 kilometer. It was fleeting under the running of the 3. Without covering up the figure, when he killed the 3 capable users, the existence of the 3 had been exposed. The huge and deep dark thoughts made it easy for the 3 of them to perceive her location without opening the circle. Across the hall, the 3 came to the altar. In sight, it was a woman whose body was shrouded in darkness. In the photo given by Bisiki, Yi saw the existence of this person. It's just that she is obviously not in a good state now. The darkness on her body continued to absorb her life. The black hair was unconsciously covered with gray representing death. Vitality was extracted in large quantities. Her life has come to an end. Ha, ha ha ha. Lord Sebastian is finally resurrected, ha 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 ha. With crazy laughter. Her body started from the toes and gradually turned to ashes until the whole body disappeared. He died while following Sebastian. He was resurrected 100 years later, but once again sacrificed his life for Sebastian. Feeling the surging dark aura, the 3 of them moved cautiously. Absorb the lives of your own subordinates. The figure hanging in the air on the sacrificial platform also woke up from a deep sleep. Is there only half of the blessings brought by mindfulness after death? Is nearly 1.8 meters tall walked down from the sacrificial platform wearing torn clothes. Probably a dress that was popular 100 years ago. Under the ravages of time, it has become dilapidated. The 3 looked at each other for a moment. The information revealed by the other party can be regarded as good news for the 3 of them. At least she didn't get all the after-death thoughts augmentation. Even so, the bottomless thought like an abyss was several times greater than the sum of the 3. She looked at Sebastian, who was constantly familiar with her new body. Krollo gave an order. Up. The voice fell. Bishiji's figure rushed forward. At the same time, the figure swelled rapidly during the run. In an instant, he recovered his tempered body. Exiting from the lowly form means that her strength is also unshackled. The ground that ran along the road left deep footprints. At this moment, Sebastian was immersed in the joy of being born again. Pung! Suddenly, a fist the size of a casserole hit her face. The wonderful mood was interrupted, and unpleasantness flooded into my heart. Damn heart! The familiar movement reminded her of the past 100 years ago. The man at that time also punched her. With a roar from Sebastian. A stream of air spreads around. Bishiji is experienced, and immediately covered her ears. Krollo and Yi are far away. But after seeing Bishiji's actions, they also covered their ears. The three were not affected by the roar. Roar over. Sebastian raised his right hand. A black-purple thought energy bomb emerged. A terrifying thought is contained in it. Even if the night is far apart, you can feel the terrifying power in it. Next moment. The energy bomb was thrown in the direction of Bishiji. As a restraint. Bishiji's hatred is very attractive. Find a chance for Krollo on the side. A Bian-style knife that appeared in the original book. But compared to that time, it was just poisoning. At this moment, the Bian-style knife has an indescribable thought force attached to the poison. The figure suddenly disappeared. It's like entering another dimension. When he appeared again, he was already behind Sebastian. Sebastian sends out a psychic bomb. My attention was still on Biji. Next moment. The sudden pain made her turn away. A man in a black shirt with a bandage on his forehead appeared behind him at some point. A short knife was held in his hand and stabbed behind him. The last chapter before the release will be released at 1700. I hope everyone will support it. Chapter 60_. Sebastian didn't expect Krollo's speed to be so fast. In just an instant, he came to his side from a distance and stabbed himself in the back. The anger that couldn't be suppressed grew even more. Thoughts surged. Disregarding the short knife pierced into his body, he quickly condensed the thoughts in his body on his legs with the help of flow. The figure twisted, and a whip leg kicked towards Krollo. The process seems to be very long, but it is only completed in the moment after Krollo launched the attack. As an existence that could fight against Nitro 100 years ago. She also has a wealth of combat experience, skilled use of mind energy skills. Facing the whip leg kicked at him. Krollo pulled out his dagger and stepped back. It disappeared mysteriously just like when the attack was launched. Just before disappearing, the corners of his mouth were full of mockery. Bang! Whip kick. At the same time, there was a sudden sound behind him. Turn around quickly. What caught his eye was the woman he had attacked with the psychic bomb. Too late to dodge, the body can only slightly sideways. Thoughts condensed in front of him. Another casserole-sized fist. It hit Sebastian on the face again. It's just that compared to the left face that was beaten last time, this time Bishiji chose the right face. Although the damage is small, it is extremely insulting. Facing the humiliation of Bishiji twice. Sebastian was completely furious. The figures of the two disappeared instantly. Only vaguely saw two shadows flickering constantly. Shutting and colliding between lightning bolts and fires, the sound of the two fighting each other kept ringing. In the shadows. Yi hides in the dark and uses, hidden, wholeheartedly. Completely cut off his own breath. According to the current judgment, even if Yi used the magic spear to attack at this moment, it would not be able to penetrate the thoughts covered by her body. Face this situation. He is like a poisonous snake, waiting for the enemy to reveal his flaws. When Sebastian's state was at its worst, it was the moment when Yi attacked. Stand by in the dark, one hit kills. This is one of the things that killers are best at. Far away. The fight between the two continued, but at this moment Bishiji was clearly at a disadvantage. In the face of this continuous attack like rain, Bishiji gradually became powerless. Finally, in the defense, an attack was missed. At this moment, an even more terrifying aura erupted from Sebastian. A dark, icy aura hit Bishiji. With a sharp straight kick, he kicked towards Bishiji. Straight kick. Dark thoughts condensed on Sebastian's legs. The sharp straight kick kicked towards Bisuki's chest. Sebastian's sudden attack. Bisuki reacted with years of experience. Stream. Mind flow. Before the attack arrived, Nienal condensed on his chest and used hardness to resist. Pung tilde. Bishiji's burly body, which was nearly 2 meters away, was kicked straight to the side by a blow and kicked a distance of several meters away. At the same time, Krollo was ready in advance. A red book appeared in his hand at some point. Wow tilde. The pages kept flipping and eventually stopped on one page. On this page is a photo of a female capable person and information about her abilities. Allison. Age, 41. Persons with the ability to manifest kinship. Ability, salvation of the incompetent. Ability status, not dead. Ability introduction. Incarnates the 017 psychic beasts and angels to judge the target. According to the trial of the beast and the angel, the target will be randomly put into 2 states, guilty, innocent. Guilty, 33% of the thoughts in the body are burned by the flames from hell and cannot be recovered. Innocent, get the blessing of the angel, temporarily get a 100% increase in the mind. Accompanied by the injection of Krollo's thoughts. A Nien beast whose body was covered by light and could not be seen clearly appeared out of thin air. The subject of the trial decides, I choose Sebastian. Looking at the mind beast covered by the light, Krollo's tone was calm. The selection of the object of the adjudication was successful. The ethereal voice came from the mouth of the beast. Next moment, a ray of light separated from the mind beast and flew in the direction of Sebastian. Facing the sudden light, Sebastian stopped her pursuit, trying to avoid the breath. But she has been locked by this breath. No matter how she changes position, the light always follows her figure. Avoid useless. Sebastian watched as the light entered her body. The other side. The thief's extreme intention in Krollo's hand turned once again. This time the page stopped over a photo of a man. Benjamin. Age, 22. Operating system. Ability, mind beast control. Ability status, not dead. Ability introduction. Use the whip to beat the beast and force the movement of the beast. According to the volume of the mind beast, the amount of mind consumed is proportional to it. A whip appeared in Krollo's hand. The whip flicked lightly. Crack tilde. A black whip mark appeared on Nien Beast Angel's body. This blackness constantly erodes the body of Nien Beast Angel. At your command, Master. Holy Angel, at this moment shed her majesty. Representing pure light, it turns into corrupted darkness. Judgment against Sebastian, forced choice of guilt. Facing the mind beast under his control, Krollo gave another order. The angel nodded slightly. Next moment, Sebastian in the distance suddenly let out a desperate cry of pain. Ah! The red lotus karma from hell scorched her body. Unstoppable rolling on the ground. Bisky, who was on the side, witnessed Krollo's use of 2 simple abilities to overthrow Sebastian's entire process. The first ability seems to be very powerful, but it has certain flaws. Beast and the angel against the enemy is random. Before the ruling, it is not clear at all whether to weaken or strengthen the enemy. But the subsequent control of the beasts forced the uncertainty of the former to be lifted. Makes a flawed ability to be used perfectly at this moment. Damn. The fire of Red Lotus Karma was gradually extinguished, and Sebastian's mental energy was reduced by 33%. Although the body was burned by the flames, there was no trace left. It was as if the flames just now were an illusion. struggling to get up from the ground. The tattered clothes on his body were completely burnt out in the burning just now. The three people present did not have the heart to appreciate it. A lot of thoughts gathered in Sebastian's hands again. A mind air mass different from the previous few times emerged. The wailing of the dead. The nimbus in his hand was thrown into the air by Sebastian. The next moment, accompanied by her order, the air mass exploded violently and spread to the surroundings. Bishiji looked grim. At the moment when the thought energy group condensed, the idea of stopping it sprouted in her heart. Although I don't know what its abilities are, this idea is getting stronger. It's just that Sebastian's actions were too fast. She just took a step, and the choir has been thrown into the sky. What to do next? Step back to Krolo's side. Subconsciously asked the young man. In just a short battle, his strategy has been recognized by Bisuki. For Bisuki's question, Krolo only said one word. Wait. According to the information at the time of arrival, Sebastian is a trait-type ability user, whose ability is to revive corpses and assist him in battle. He is not good at fighting himself. More is to use countless zombies to crush opponents. But even so, the actual combat ability is also stronger than that of the most experienced combatant of the trio, Biji. Face such a formidable enemy. Recklessly attacking, maybe the situation will be more unfavorable. 4 minutes and 50 seconds have passed since I wound her with a Bian-style knife. Leaving a sentence of unknown meaning, Krolo stepped back a few positions. Seeing Krolo's reaction, Bishiji also stepped back subconsciously. Pung. Suddenly, when the two had just stepped back a few steps, an explosion suddenly occurred on Sebastian in the distance. The power is not strong, but her breath is further weakened. Feel it all. Bishiji subconsciously looked at Krolo beside him. Although there is no evidence. But the voice in her heart told her that the explosion just now was Krolo's masterpiece. He seemed to feel Bishiji's gaze. Actively explained. Spot blasting. The moment I attacked Sebastian for the first time, I set this ability on her body. As he said that, the red book appeared in his hand again, the thief's ultimate intention. The pages turned and stopped on a picture of a child. Harry Ferdinand _ Age, 11. Manipulator. Ability, demolition. Ability status, not dead. Ability introduction. Fixed point blasting. Absorbs the target's mental energy and explodes every 5 minutes. The power generated by the explosion is superimposed according to the number of explosions. Current blast times, 1/10. Because it is a continuous effect ability, it is not necessary for Krolo to open the book all the time. Briefly, Bishiji said the restrictions, but did not inform them in detail. After all, the two are only temporary partners. The other side. In Yi-Yi's perception of spiritual pressure, nearly 10,000 zombies came here. Apparently what Sebastian had done before. It is to attract the surrounding zombies to come. When summoned, their behavior changes. No longer the previous delay. One by one, they ran and jumped towards this place. Certainly. In the face of these zombies, Yi-Yi was not afraid. The sword is the Zanpakuto of Ichimaru Jin. Not only is it suitable for assassination, but cleaning up trash fish is also a great killer. It's just that it's not the time to expose the spear. Looking at the two people who didn't seem to notice in the distance, Yi-Yi's voice entered their minds. There are a lot of zombies around here, you pay attention. Hear the prompt. The two quickly spread out the circle to perceive. Feel the round, called the zombies in the sea. Bishiji's face changed. Even in the face of zombies, those who are capable can avoid assimilation by abandoning their thoughts. But with such an exaggerated amount, even she couldn't ensure her survival. On the other side, Krolo looked much calmer compared to Bisuki's panic. No, there is even a sense of victory. Before the zombies were summoned, he believed that the probability of completing the commission and surviving this time was less than half. But at this moment, the probability was abruptly increased by 80% by Sebastian. The thief's ulterior motives emerge. Book pages are automatically turned up. Stop on a photo of a man. Amelia. Age, 35. The person who releases the psychic ability. Ability, Paired Destroyer. Ability status, Death. Ability introduction. Pair of spoilers. The backs of both hands have the marks of the sun and the moon, the left hand marks the sun, and the right hand marks the moon, and when the marks touch each other, they will explode. The imprint itself can be done in an instant, but increasing its power to maximum requires 3 to 5 seconds of continuous contact with the object. The master of this ability has died. But the thoughts did not disappear, on the contrary, they even became stronger because of resentment. Once engraved on the body, the engraving will remain there until it explodes, whether the book is closed or the book disappears. Using this ability, all zombies will become his weapons. After tens of seconds, a large number of zombies surrounded the sacrificial hall. Ha ha ha, the bastards of the Hunters Association, you all cry under these endless corpses. He looked at Bishiji and Krolo who were surrounded by zombies. Sebastian's face was full of joy. She wanted these two bastards who humiliated herself to die without a place to be buried. Next moment, endless zombies engulfed the two of them. After a while, Sebastian's sense of joy gradually faded away. Turn around and walk towards the altar. With two hunters out, it's time to get on with her business. After being sealed for so many years, the sacrificial altar absorbed her mind power unknowingly. Although not much. But for her, who is now burning 1/3 of her thoughts, not a single bit can be wasted. 10 minutes have passed. Sebastian frowned. It's too slow to absorb in this way. The absorption of thought power on the sacrificial altar is too slow. Less than 1,000th was absorbed in 10 minutes. If you want to absorb all the thought power in the sacrificial altar, it will take at least a week. For a week, she wondered if the Hunter Association would continue to send people to encircle and suppress it. But now she doesn't have any other way to speed up the absorption. Have no choice. He had no choice but to cross his legs on the sacrificial altar and honestly absorb the thoughts in the sacrificial altar. The other side. At the moment when the zombies rushed towards Bisji and Krolo. Krolo uses a stolen ability. Christy Petty _ Age, 21. Those who have the ability to operate the system. Ability, Traveler. Original owner, not dead. Ability introduction. The body can travel into different dimension space, and the time limit is 10 seconds. With this ability, Krolo brought Bisji safely to Yi Yi's side. And briefly explained the role of Paired Destroyer. A battle plan was reworked. Krolo's figure walked towards the endless zombies. Marking these zombies is not an easy job. 3 days later, Sebastian in the sacrificial hall had absorbed 1/3 of the thoughts contained in the sacrificial altar. The mind chi that was burned by the fire of Hell Red Lotus Karma has also recovered a little. Thinking of myself getting rid of so many thoughts. Even she felt distressed. The other side. The location where Yi Yi and others were hiding. Krolo emerged from the shadows. For 3 consecutive days, he marked the surrounding zombies. There are a total of 8,213 zombies around, all of which have been marked by me. He looked at Yaiki and Bishiji. Telling about his achievements in the past 3 days. The next way of fighting will change. Open black lens bracket paired destroyer close black lens bracket. It was decided that this battle, he could not have the slightest danger. It is temporarily uncertain whether 8,213 zombies can kill Sebastian. The necessary consumption for her still needs to be done. Therefore, he and Yi Yi's combat positions were transferred. Biski's position has not changed, and she is still responsible for containing Sebastian. Yi Yi was consuming Sebastian. And Krolo himself was hidden. Wait until the two of them have consumed half of the energy on Sebastian's body. He activated the ability to control the zombie to launch a self-destruction attack on Sebastian. After confirming the strategy, Yaiki used Reiatsu to take himself and Bishiji beside him, and flew towards the sacrificial hall. The sacrificial hall has been completely surrounded by zombies. Rushing hard from the ground consumes too much thought. Yaiki has the ability to fly, although Bishiji was a little surprised, but not surprised. The ability to fly is scarce though. But in her many years of life, she has also seen some people who have the ability to fly. Come to the sky. Through the Reiatsu, I can feel Sebastian's position precisely. Yi stretched out his right hand. His palms aimed at Sebastian, who was cross-legged on the sacrificial altar to absorb his thoughts. To be able to ensure that this attack is not just a firework. He's coming to Boda. System panel. Host, Night 1. World, full-time hunter. Number of inheritances, 1. Inherited figure, Ichimaru Jin. Unlock progress, 27.5%. Zanpakudo, Spear First Solution. Spiritual Pressure, 500. Ability to Master. Spirit Body Unlocked. Slash, the fighting method of the god of death using a knife, sword. White Strike, the body art of the god of death. Shunpo, Reaper's high-speed movement skills. Ghost Road Intermediate, the advanced spell used by the god of death to fight, divides the way and binds the way. Reiatsu Perception Intermediate, the Shinigami's ability to sense the surroundings using Reiki. The next ability to unlock, need to unlock progress 50%. With a spiritual pressure of 500, he is already a top 10 chairperson in the world of death. The King's Lander, the mask of flesh and blood, the omnipresent, the thing that flutters high, and bears the name of mankind. Burning heat and strife, rolling back south across the sea, and marching forward. After obtaining the inheritance, it was the first time to recite the ghost path. Compared to the previous few times, I used my thoughts to use ghosts. This time, Yaiki chose to use Reiatsu to attack. 400 Reiatsu points were injected into the red cannon in his right hand. The 31. Red Cannon. A red light fireball appeared in Yi's palm. Originally it was only the size of a football. But after injecting 400 points of Reiatsu, it will expand wildly. The next moment, a red light fireball with a radius of 3 meters. Shot down from Yoichi's hand. Target, Sebastian. Bishiji, who was driven to fly by Yi's spiritual pressure, looked at Yi's attack in shock. According to the news from Yungu, the knight in front of him is a person with the ability to embody the system. But it can issue such a powerful, mind gas bomb. Make her feel like she's hallucinating. Yi ignored Bishiji who was stunned beside him. His eyes were fixed on Sebastian below. The red cannon fired. Use, hidden, tricks. The momentum and energy are completely hidden. Sebastian, who was immersed in the absorbing energy, did not expect that there were still people in the Hunter Association, so he relaxed his vigilance. Therefore, he did not feel the existence of the red artillery. With his fleshly body, he faced the red artillery fired by Yi. Boom tilde tilde tilde. Terrifying flames dyed the sky red. Accompanied by a rumbling sound. The trace of the sacrificial hall disappeared into history. A figure stained with flames struggled to roll on the ground. With her fleshly body facing Yaiki's scarlet cannon, even a person of her level cannot ignore it. The skin of the body was burnt away. The fat-burning scent radiates outwards. Painful howls came from his mouth. It seems that I don't need to go down to contain it, and I can directly let Crollo attack. The ground was scorched by flames, and there was no way to go. Faced with such a situation, Yi was also surprised. After getting the inheritance, this is the first time to chant Ghost Taoism in full text and inject spiritual pressure into almost the whole body. Yi's original plan was only to cause some damage to her and destroy the sacrificial hall that prevented the zombies from entering. But now the unexpected development is full of advantages for the next battle. Perhaps by using the spear at this moment, Sebastian can be dealt with unexpectedly. The spear appeared out of thin air in Yi Yi's hand, and the muzzle was aimed at Sebastian, who was screaming constantly below. Quite a while. Yi Yi chose to give up. Sebastian, who had been attacked once, had a very low chance of succeeding in another sneak attack. And at this moment, the energy in her body is still full. Yi Yi couldn't be sure whether she could break through her defense with the power of the magic spear. Instead of wasting time, let Krollo do it as soon as possible. When he came to Krollo's side, he was ready. Open black lens bracket extreme intent of thieves close black lens bracket. Miranda. Age, 14. Manipulator. Ability, proof of humanity. Ability status, not dead. Ability introduction. A stamp is displayed, and the action of the puppet can be manipulated by imprinting it on the puppet. Although the number of manipulations is large, it cannot give overly complicated orders to it. When marking those zombies with paired destroyer, he has used his seal to imprint it. Dead people can also be counted as puppets. With the smile rising from the corner of Krollo's mouth, this battle also came to an end. 8,213 zombies, under the control of their abilities, rushed in the direction of Sebastian, accompanied by bursts of explosions. The legend of the goddess of thinking has come to an end. After the explosion, Krollo came to the scene 1 or 2 people at night. When Yi Yi and Biscuit arrived, Sebastian's body had already turned into charcoal. Krollo was standing in front of the coke, thinking something. The rogue's extreme intention in his hand slowly dissipated. The sky is bright. Everyone has returned to the temporary station, and Krollo has come to Yi Yi's tent. An evil thought emanated from it. I am sorry to interrupt you all of a sudden. The words in his mouth were an apology for his sudden arrival. Quite a while. The evil thoughts slowly dissipated. Yi Yi walked out of the tent and looked at Krollo with a flat face. At this time, Krollo seemed to have become that ordinary man with a scholarly atmosphere again. Dressed up, just like when they met in the airship a few days ago. Obviously ready to leave. For Krollo. After completing the commission, the relationship between the two changed from teammates to strangers again. Yi Yi didn't want to have too much contact with this troublesome character. I have no ill will towards you, can we have a good talk? Krollo's soft and distinctive voice did not dissuade Yi Yi's wariness. Think for a moment. Or get out of the way and let him enter his tent to speak. With the current strength of the two, launching a conflict is not something that just a tent can resist. Therefore, it is better to let him in directly. Although you already know my information, I'll reintroduce myself. Krollo smiled and looked at Yoichi. I'm the head of the Phantom Troop, Krollo. It's a pity that Yi Yi didn't eat him. Speak directly about your purpose, I don't want to have too much contact with you. In Yi Yi's memory, the Phantom Troop in September was already full. It can't be a matter of recruiting yourself into the group. Besides, Yi Yi didn't know what he could spy on. Ability. Just kidding, he himself hadn't confirmed what abilities he wanted to develop. It is even less likely that Krollo has taken a fancy to his own abilities. Number 8 in the Phantom Troop, because of his accidental death, number 8 has been vacant. Krollo didn't mind Yi Pear's tone of voice. After all, you can't expect a killer to speak politely to you. Vacancy. Hearing Krollo's answer, Yi Yi was a little puzzled. Although it is not clear when the droplets were added. When the hunter was experimenting, Kexasuo had already told the Kurapika spiders the time to gather. Yi Yi thought that all the members of the Phantom Troop had already decided to carry out this event. Give me a reason to join the Phantom Troop. Yi Yi didn't like the Phantom Troop, but he didn't hate it either. As a killer, kill the entrusted targets for rewards. It is no different from the behavior of robbers. So, if Krollo gave him a reason to convince him, Yi Yi didn't mind joining the Phantom Troop. After all, judging from the brigade's ability to do things, the chances of encountering those who are capable are high. As for rejection, Yi and Krollo didn't have any deep hatred. If it was just because he refused to join the Phantom Troop, he would be in conflict with himself. As far as Krollo is concerned, he is not allowed to do such a thing. If you are a group leader, you can't even bear this, let alone lead a team to go on. The reason. If I said that everyone came to you because everyone was born in Meteor Street, you would definitely choose to refuse. I heard Yi's reply. Krollo felt a little distressed. Since the brigade lacked number 8, he has been looking for new members. Therefore, in the past 2 years, the knight will be sent to him by the qualifiers of the Hunter Association and the players who performed well in the 200th floor of the Sky Arena. In last year's information, there was no such suitable presence. Therefore, until now, the position of number 8 is still vacant. Until the first 2 weeks, the Hunter trial ended. Yi's information was hung on the Hunter on the official website of Renman. He only fell in love with Yi at a glance. If you have to say the reason for inviting you to join, it can be said to be eye-catching. Rather than finding a more suitable reason, Krollo still explained the reason for finding Yi. Interesting. Yi was not interested in Krollo's reason. Sorry, forgive me for refusing. If only for this reason, Yi didn't plan to join the Spider. Although he doesn't have much memory of the Hunter world. But he still remembers the fact that Zisuo chased and killed the members of the brigade. In terms of Yi's strength, he is not afraid of Hisoka. But as a killer, I don't want to provoke a fighting maniac for no reason. Honestly, hide in the dark. That's what he should do. Hearing Yi's refusal, Krollo didn't show any disappointment. Perhaps, he was ready to be rejected. Really, that's really annoying. Shang Yi apologized slightly, then turned around and left. Since Yi rejected his invitation, he had no reason to stay. Of course, even if Yi was not recruited. But what I have gained from this journey is much more important than a team member. Therefore, he was not disappointed. Feeling the receding figure in the Reiatsu, Yi closed his eyes and resumed meditation. In the previous crusade against Sebastian, he was not idle. As the most perceptive of the trio, he has been observing Sebastian's movements. For 3 days in a row, he felt a little tired. The other side. Krollo walked in the direction he came from. This time, he did not choose to travel by car. For him, taking a walk occasionally is also a kind of relaxation for himself. Passing through a town overrun by zombies. Even in the mood to hang out in the town, occasionally looking for some necessary supplies. In an abandoned cafe. Surprisingly, this is not broken. Skillfully pick up the grinder and use the materials in the store to make coffee. Night. Sitting under the light, quietly flipping through the books in your hands, and occasionally tasting your own coffee. For Krollo, such a life is not boring. Just ignore the zombies that keep walking back and forth on the street. A girl on the street struggled to hit the zombies that were constantly surrounding her. The vacuum cleaner in his hand was already stained with dark brown blood. 3 days. It has been 3 days since she came to this town, and she has not seen a single living person, but she is trapped by these zombies that are constantly surrounding her. Even if she is capable, she is almost unable to hold it at this moment. He worked hard to get rid of a few zombies beside him. The girl found the right time and jumped towards the house next to her. This is to avoid the constant siege of the zombies. Looking at the scene below that was like hell on earth, the girl didn't know what to think. At this moment, the teenager saw the lights emitting from the cafe in the distance. His eyes blinked suspiciously. The subconscious kept jumping from the surrounding houses. Coming to the door of the cafe, he gently pushed the door open to a gap. "Excuse me, may I come in?" The girl is about 20 years old, with black hair and black framed eyes hanging on the bridge of her nose, giving people the feeling of a good girl. "Of course, feel free to enter." Crowla looked at the girl who pushed the door and opened his eyes slightly. Hello, my name is Shouty.